He's managed to get himself on the inside, but he's caught up on the curve. Sean Allen, the outside special. We've had a huge crash. This can't be real. I think he might have the strong done finally. Ethan Warren gives him no space. He's in the wall. He's in the wall. Turn point. He's taking out Bruce Dean as well. Oh, big moment there. Kurt's tipped over his Bruce. Big crash at turn 4. That is an unfortunate huge crash. Oh, the huge wiggle on. He was clear.
Whoops. Alright, a bit of a false start there, but welcome everyone to qualifying night for the Automobilista Supercars Bathurst 1000. My name's Stairs and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Madbird to the commentary box.
I'm absolutely stoked to be here, Stairs, and last year was an absolute bloody ripper for the Bathurst 1000 and promises to be exactly the same this time around, so I'm very excited to be here with yourself and with a couple of others, Stairs.
100%. It's going to be an interesting night as we set the grid for the big race tomorrow day. I'm so used to saying tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow at about 11 o'clock Eastern Australian Standard Time, we will be kicking off for 161 laps around this classic Australian circuit.
Absolutely, and we've pulled out all the stops, it's fair to say, today, Madbird.
We have.
We're looking there, we've got monitors, we've got cameras. It's unbelievable for the Bathurst 1000.
It is, yes, and you would not believe the amount of technology that I'm looking at just off frame, just to give you a little peek behind the curtain. But yeah. It's
not iron.
It's all very exciting.
Completely derailed.
I've got no idea what I was going to say, so it's fine. You saved me from needing to fumble my way out of that loophole of a sentence.
That's it. Now, those of you who have the astuteness of sight may have noticed, in addition to being able to see us, that we're decked out in some pretty nice polo kit. In fact, I'm sort of hiding some of it with my laptop here, but look, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Professional setup.
Professional setup. Let me just boot that up again so we've got a background.
But thanks to KART FX for providing us with these duds, which are the finest in t-shirt apparel. And it's got a good Apex rear wing logo on there. It's got a good Automobilista Supercars Championship on there. And then it's got all of our sponsors down the arm. And on the very back, where you can't see it, is actually the KART FX logo. So
yep, KART FX. Family business, Madbird.
Yes.
Yes, Blair and Sonia Warren and their two sons, Dane and Ethan, who
family
are racing.
We're very familiar with.
We are very familiar with the Warren brothers, but Motorsport's given a fair bit to these guys, and so they're giving a little bit back. And we've got a bit of a giveaway as well.
Speaking of giving,
tomorrow we'll be giving away some of these stickers. So certainly tune in tomorrow for your chance to get some stickers, Madbird.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and we'll talk about that tomorrow during the race itself. But we've got someone else to introduce, don't we, Stairs?
We do. It's not just you and me in the commentary box tonight. We've got some guests bringing with them their punditry knowledge, Madbird.
We do. We have got Matty Dunlop. He is in Melbourne. We have got, hopefully, Josh Bagsy, who is dealing with some technical issues over in Perth. So we are truly a national effort for this particular event. And right here in the room just next to us, which we're affectionately calling the KART FX bunker, we have got Mike Zalavari.
Thank you very much, guys. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the ASC Bathurst 1000 and the KART FX bunker. We've got a little bit of a tech bunker here, so we'll be bringing you some analysis over the course of the race. We'll be using this for some quality analysis as well. You can see we've already got some stuff set up here. We've also done a little bit of work to decorate the place really nicely. We've got some posters, a helmet, some figurines up there as well, some hats, and this beautiful picture taken by our own Stairs at the Sepang circuit of Daniel Ricciardo. We've also got, for helping us today, a few of these little magnetic cars. So we'll be using those to give you a bit of an idea of what's going on. And that's our little KART FX bunker. So we'll come back in here through the course of tonight and for tomorrow. But in the meantime, it's back to Stairs and to Madbird.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. Absolute pleasure to have you in the box, and thanks as well to our cameraman James for jumping along. We are looking forward to bringing you more of this bunker stuff throughout the course of the night and also for tomorrow, Madbird.
Yep, it really pulled out all the stops. Describes it quite well. We've got a lot of stuff set up, and I know Michael has got a lot of interesting segments he's got planned up for us, so very much looking forward to throwing over to him in the KART FX bunker quite a few times, as well as he's going to be hopping into the commentary box to give both myself and Stairs a bit of a break here and there.
Your Stairs?
Here, what did I say?
I think you said my Stairs.
My Stairs? Well, you know, we've known each other for 27 years. I feel like I've got a slight sense of ownership.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I
cannot own person. Cannot.
I like to think that I can claim to, you know, be a sizable reason that you are the man that you are today.
Well, the other person that we have joining us in commentary from the, I was going to say lofty heights, but that's probably the wrong term. From the distance of Melbourne is our own Matty Dunlop, who's commentated on quite a few of the ASC races and commentates with your good self in the ARW races. And he's joining us on the line from Melbourne. How are you, Matty?
I'm good. Good evening, boys. Good evening, Stairs, Madburn, Floody, Bagsy, if you're over there somewhere, and everyone who is watching. Welcome. It's the big one. Well, it's the day before the big one. It's qualifying and practice, and of course the top 10 shootout for the ASC Bathurst 1000. Guys, I'm pumped. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm absolutely pumped. What about you, Madbird?
I am as pumped up as a tyre that's going to explode the second it touches the tarmac. I'm incredibly pumped up. It's almost dangerously pumped up.
So we've got 15 minutes to go till qualifying, so it's a good chance to just shoot the breeze, set ourselves for this qualifying night, Madbird, and just think about what it is that we're going to be doing tonight. So we've got a 40-minute qualifying session. That will determine the grid, or the order, I should say, the running order for the top 10 shootout, because this is Bathurst. Got to do a shootout, Madbird.
Got to do a shootout, so we will be doing, as you said, 40-minute qualifying session and then the top 10 shootout to determine the complete running order for the start of the race tomorrow. Again, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We will be starting off this race, but we've first got to figure out what order the cars are going to be starting in.
Now, this is a car that you're not used to seeing with these colours on it. This is Kurt Stenberg we're looking at. He is the defending Bathurst champion, and guess who he's teamed up with for this race, Madbird?
It wouldn't be his arch nemesis of this championship there, would it, Stairs?
It would. The guy who wrestled the championship away from him, Kurt, of course, the defending champion of the ASC championship. Now Dane Warren has sealed that up previously in the Bend. But they've decided to join forces, and my goodness, that's going to be a formidable pairing.
Yeah, I don't think it's... I'm not sure Kurt would be upset to hear me say it, but I think wrestled it away from him is being a little bit generous. Dane has been absolutely unstoppable this season. The only times he's been able to be stopped is when he wasn't here.
So he's just heading into the pits right now. You can see we've got quite a few new liveries
tonight for this race. There's the Race on Oz one in the foreground. This is the guy who's leading the timesheets at the moment, Colin Warwick, and he's paired with Dane Warren's brother, Ethan Warren, Madbird.
With our sponsor, KART FX Black Shores Racing on the side there. So it's nice. Colin Warwick, I usually wouldn't expect him to be at the top of the timesheets, but he's obviously put in the hard yards of practice, and he's doing quite well here towards the end of the practice session.
Absolutely. So a 2:04.2. We haven't dipped into the illustrious 2:03 land just yet, Madbird, but one wouldn't expect to. 13 minutes remaining until qualifying, but we only just dipped into the 2:03s last year in the
it was exciting though
in the qualifying session, but we did. So I honestly think we're going to get there pretty early on in qualifying tonight.
We can only hope, considering that Dane Warren has been smashing qualifying records left, right and centre all season. If he is going to be the one qualifying the car, currently Kurt Stenberg in the car, so I'm not sure if they're going to swap. Actually, they have left the service. They could be leaving the server in order to swap, but I imagine you'd want Dane Warren in the car for qualifying. I can only imagine that we will see a 2:03 tonight some stage.
Matt Dunlop's been watching the practice session during the time that we were preparing for this broadcast. What have you noticed, Matty?
I think everyone's been spending a lot of time trying to get to grips with the track, because obviously Bathurst is the track that everybody knows and loves, and these guys have a lot of experience. But this particular version of Bathurst that we're using has been sort of custom engineered based on an original base circuit by Kurt Stenberg himself. So he's been tweaking the behavior of the track surface, among other things, and how the tyre model works. So I think there's been a lot of guys trying to get used to how that works. So that's been a big thing. He's done a lot of fantastic work. I've got to really give a massive props to Kurt Stenberg for what he's done to make this track look as fantastic as it is. And I think Colin Warwick is working on it as well. So great job to both of those guys, the series admins. And a lot of what I was seeing for the most part is just guys sort of, getting comfortable with Bathurst again, because it's been a while since they've been around this track. They've been spending a lot of time focusing on the rest of the calendar, of course, and now it's the big one. And there's a few new guys who I haven't really seen before pop up, so they'll be trying to get some desperate track time in before we get to qualifying a little bit later on tonight.
Yeah, they will. We've got a couple of names that usually don't show up in the main game, but do show up in Super 2s. Instinct being one of them. And we're just seeing a quick replay here of Zach Baker slamming into the wall. Missing the wall. My goodness.
Madbird, they were one of the strongest pairings last year.
They were. I'm of the opinion they were robbed. The ZB guys, I reckon they deserved the win. They were catching up to Dane Warren, who was paired with his brother Ethan, I believe, last time, and they were meanwhile trying to fuel save with the Warrens, and ZB were just caught behind them for just a few laps, and I think that would have been just the difference to keep them off the top step of the podium.
Yeah, the strategy tomorrow is one thing I'm absolutely looking forward to, among others, of course, but absolutely. So here's another pairing that I'm really looking forward to. We've got Thomas McMillan here. He's in the AAR by Pleb Sim Sport car. Love that team name. And he's paired with Luke Rosella. I really like that pairing, Madbird.
I like it, yeah. We haven't seen too much of Luke Rosella in the main game the last few rounds, but he definitely had quite a lot of pace when we did see him. And Thomas McMillan, we know, is sort of, as we're seeing, literally about to say, he's a bit of a lives by the sword, die by the sword kind of driver, which I believe is how you've described him a couple of times. And he can be bloody quick, but he can also, sometimes when you run on the knife's edge, the knife cuts you.
Well, here is the knife cutting him over the top into the S's there, right where you took a fantastic photo of an Aston Martin having a big accident in February this year.
I did indeed, yep. Probably the best photo I've ever taken and ever will take. But
how does it feel knowing you've peaked?
I've peaked at 29. It doesn't feel great.
It's all right.
But, I'm used to that feeling.
We're also looking at the new Race on Oz livery, a pairing, one of the few pairings that's remained the same from last year as Bathurst 1000. This is Sean Allen and Brodie Steen. running the Race on Oz ZB. Last year they ran a Nissan Altima, not an option for them this year, because in the regular series, one of them runs an FGX Falcon and the other one runs a Commodore. This year, both in the Commodore. So they had an arm wrestle, I would expect, and Sean Allen won.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of fitting considering the what we had this year in the real Bathurst 1000. We just had the Commodores versus the Mustangs, so get those other manufacturers out of here. Just like the Superloop 500, get that out of here. We don't need that anymore. Definitely.
Well, I know they're talking about putting that at the end of the year instead of the first championship event. I'm getting head shakes from.
They've cut it completely.
Oh, right. I've apparently not been paying attention.
I was about to say, have you been living under a rock, Stairs? Because I'm not a supercars fan, and even I've seen that.
Okay.
But yeah,
I personally don't care.
I mean, neither do I.
I haven't been to Superloop for years.
Again, I'm not a.
No.
Michael Zalavari has just given us the most wounded puppy look that you've ever seen on a man's face. And, I feel...
it'll be back, I reckon. You know, they'll realise that the bend is too far to travel for a race, and Adelaide does have an appetite for motorsport, so I think...
there were rumours that they were going to try to get Formula E to Adelaide, but I don't see that happening.
No.
As neat as it might be,
we're off topic already, Madbird.
We are, but in fairness, it's the practice session. We've got a bit of waffling to do before we hit the qualifying, and
I did have a note passed in front of me a moment ago.
Oh, yes.
That Luke Rosella, who we were talking about a moment ago, but Plenty of Water has passed underneath the bridge since then.
Yes.
But he's actually coming off the back of a terrific result at the AMS Oz 500 last weekend.
Oh, yes.
And that result was victory. And as far as results go, that's a pretty good one.
That's about the best you can get in terms of results. You don't tend to get any better than winning it. So very well done to Luke Rosella. For some reason, I had, despite paying a fair bit of attention and knowing a few of the drivers whose engines popped at the very end of that race, I'd neglected to find out who had actually won it. So
a lot of people. It was the race that no one wanted to win. I think Will Devonish was leading at one stage. Will competed in the ASC Bathurst 1000 last year. He had his engine pop while he was in the lead, 5 laps from the end. And then I think Thomas McMillan also was racing with Kurt Stenberg in that race. His engine popped as they were chasing
on the last
down.
lap, I think.
So
Yep. Yeah, you know.
Don't entertain any thoughts of watching that tomorrow on replay. Watch us live, because we've got a lot of the same competitors. So I reckon you're going to get that plus more in terms of action.
That plus more.
Yeah, we're looking at Dane Liccardo at the moment. He's another driver who was part of that race, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I've got Michael Zalavari off to my right-hand side, who commentated on that race, so he can give us all the costs.
He did indeed, and from what he was telling me earlier, the red flag section in particular was particularly enthralling.
Oh yeah, I bet they came up with some interesting chatter.
I imagine it was. I brought up the AMS Oz race, the Bathurst race that yourself and Bagsy commentated back in the day, where you were sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of small talk.
Yeah, not wrong. So far we've stayed mostly on topic.
We have managed to do that.
Thanks for that, James. An interesting comment has come through on,
What did it say?
We have just, let's not talk about that. What we will talk about is Steve Warwick, up in 4th place. He's paired with RSM Latino. The Warwick brothers have been putting in some practice laps, man. Brothers. Father and son.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's a compliment to Steve or an insult to Colin.
Well, I mean... Colin's in first at the moment with Ethan. It's probably Ethan who set the lap time.
Actually, yeah. Since now that we mention it, they would be practicing their driver swaps and stuff as we're speaking, I imagine. So there's a few names that might possibly change while the positions won't, and that would be the reason.
Couple of comments coming through on the live chat. Welcome if you're watching. Can't wait to have a bit of banter with you guys throughout the night.
I'd like to to thank Matt Dunlop for throwing out the Fs in the chat for the 500, and then nobody threw any Fs in the chat.
Yeah, so Matt Cecil saying Adelaide's just given us a reason not to go there voluntarily. I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
We kind of don't want COVID.
Like,
so.
please, stay away at the moment, anyway.
So, who else have we not introduced you to? We're looking at Zach Baker there. That's one livery that we're quite familiar with because it hasn't changed. So
There we go. We got James Donovan, our very own James Donovan, in the chat with an F.
there you go.
Good man.
I feel like I might have. I'm feeling it's still a twinge of regret about saying who cares about the 500.
Yeah, honestly, I've never seen someone look so wounded in my life. As he just.
I mean, I have enjoyed it in the past.
When it was called the Clipsal.
Clipsal. Yeah, Superloop. Superloop never really got. It never took hold.
Someone at work. Somebody at work has got a friend that's quite high up in Repsol apparently, and they sort of jumped on as a major sponsor when Superloop took it on, and so they're probably not particularly happy to be losing.
Yeah, I bet.
To losing that probably fairly lucrative sponsorship deal.
Seeing a lot of cars in the pits here, Madbird, and what I'm noticing is that they are practicing driver swaps. We've seen Colin Warwick was in the car at the start of this session. Ethan Warren is now, and we're watching Benjamin Dahlia at the moment touring the pit lane, and I have a feeling he's going to swap over with his teammate Alex Cattle in the Race on Oz Young Lions Commodore. Benjamin Dahlia actually won the Super 2 championship.
Oh, very good. So we have seen him a few times in the main game as well, and Alex Cattle has been a mainstay in the ASC upper echelons. He's been sort of the sister team to Race on Oz throughout the season, which would explain why they're the Young Lions, because they're the sort of the B team, which sounds offensive, but it is meant to be, I assure you, to the A team of Race on Oz, Sean Allen and Brody Steen car. So expect some decent result for them tomorrow.
Benjamin Dahlia, if I'm not mistaken, is actually the current Formula Ford champion in Victoria, which he won in 2019, still current because they didn't have one this year.
Well, that's more than I can claim to be, so very well done to him.
There's a few more Fs in the chat there, Madbird, so we can very much say that there are going to be some people that will miss the Superloop 500.
One of them is Michael Zalavari, so I feel like we knew that one would
yeah, you know, we're peeking behind the curtain here, you know.
I mean, anyone that's watching can see who is the person posting the comment.
That's true, but they may have forgotten, you know, because we refer to each other by nicknames sometimes. And
Mr. D. Beachy says, never mind.
Never mind. He also said who's winning, and well, the race itself hasn't begun yet.
Currently, Ethan Warren and Colin Warwick are winning this practice session, but you don't really get any points for that. That's a name. Urjit Mishra.
Urjit Mishra?
Urjit Mishra.
He's another AMS Oz 500 competitor. But he disconnected on the second lap of the race, so that was a short competition. And then there was a restart in which he was allowed to rejoin, and then he disconnected on lap 2 of the restart, Madbird.
No. So it's safe to say that Udrit Mishra and Pierre Roy's Team 11 entry, their goal is to make it to lap 3 at the very least.
You know what I would do? I'd put Pierre Roy in the car first up.
It's probably a good idea.
Pierre Roy would be like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. D Beach is saying, what's the age restriction on Team Cuz B? Don't know the answer to that. How are we, lads? Good to have you with us, Damon Carter. We're very close to that qualifying session now. 50 seconds remaining in the practice session.
Then we're going to start turning some laps in anger.
Still a couple of... There's one car I'm trying to figure out. I think it's the Jake Maloney and Joe Mugford entry that isn't in the session at the moment, but they will be racing for Trans-Tasman Racing. Jake Maloney, the defending Bathurst champion. So we'll have two cars with a defending Bathurst champion in this race, because Kurt Stenberg and Jake Maloney paired up last year won't be paired up this year.
I'm understanding the question now, because Cuz B saying Steve Warwick and myself are the grandpa team, so Cuz B must be RSM
That's
Latino.
RSM Latino. Remember Madbird? He did the entire thing last year by himself.
By himself, I do remember that. That was an almighty effort, so he's going to have the absolute inconceivable luxury of being able to have a break
What the heck is that?
during this race, so he's not going to know what to do with himself. And so Mr. D. Beachy then asked, "What's the age restriction on your team?" And he replied, "Over 50s." Over 50s. So safe to say that they're getting their seniors card discount on plenty of items. I don't know if you get a seniors card over 50. I reckon it might be older than that.
Yeah, I think it's in the 60s now. I should ask my folks because they are both in the realms of that age group.
I know my mum has one and she's 60s, so yeah, probably something you get in your 60s rather than your 50s.
So
a sip of water there, sorry.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Get some water in your hydration. It's good for the soul.
Yeah, you walk up to your mate and his name is Dration, and you say, "Hi, Dration."
Goodness gracious me!
I apologise for that. It's so early, and I'm already pulling them
out
like that, pulling it out.
We've got 2 cars on track at the moment. It's the fifth place car you're looking at the moment of Sean Allen. The other car is Benjamin Dahlia, who's been circulating without a bonnet for the whole time that I've looked at him, as Sean Allen has a huge moment and somehow keeps that out of the wall.
Almost.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
Ground his nose ever so slightly, but it was an almighty effort not to have an immense accident there.
Yeah.
Are we sure that Benjamin Daly is missing his bonnet and it's not just he hasn't painted his engine on his bonnet?
It's a good question.
That would be a tricksy thing to
But
do.
that's it for not for the qualifying session, the practice session, and we were oh so close to a 3 with a 2:04.07.
So close to 203 land.
Matt Dunlop, what do you make of that?
I've got pretty high hopes for qualifying now, don't I? Because that's some really tantalizing times. I wasn't actually seeing anything close to that in the practice session that I jumped in earlier on. So, yeah, excitement all around, I think. As you might find on the side or the back of the Sean Allen Brody Steen Big Kev inspired machine. I'm excited.
I am excited. Yeah, you said it well, Matt Dunlop. Well, you know, there's a waiting period now. We're about to get started on in this qualifying session.
Yeah,
and
so we have just got a couple of minutes here, but we're going to quickly throw over to the KART FX bunker where Michael Zalavari is going to have a little bit of a chat. Michael, we've just got you back.
Okay, so welcome to the Tech Talk Bunker. Thanks to KART FX. Mount Panorama, Bathurst. We know this place well. 6.213 kilometres, 178 metres from top to bottom, and a 295 kilometre top speed at the end of Conrod Straight. Here is our lap. We've got here our 3 sectors. Sector 1 ending just at Reed Park underneath the tree. Sector 2 ending just on the exit of Forest Elbow, and then the fast Sector 3 back to the main straight. Now, looking at some of the practice times, we saw a range of times, but we can kind of get an idea of what you should be expecting on a qualifying sim. So for Sector 1, anything underneath a sub 51.5 is going to be a quick lap. The fastest we saw was a 50.9, so getting underneath that 51 second barrier. For Sector 2, we saw a 32.9 as the fastest, but anything sub 33.5 is generally pretty good. And a sub 40.3 will see you very high on the last sector, but the fastest was a 39.7. Now, with Mount Panorama, of course, you have these 2 very long, very fast straights where you want to trim the car out as much as possible. And then you've got this beautiful section over the top, which is all about flow, all about cornering speed, all about making the car dance. So you've got to kind of reconcile those 2 very different ideas to get a fast lap time here. And the one who got the fastest was Dane Warren in that session. We saw at the very beginning before he swapped out and disconnected and that time disappeared, a 2:03.7 for Warren and Stenberg, and he was followed up by Ethan Warren and Colin Warwick in that second car. So look for qualifying times here tonight. Around a 2:05.5 will be very, very good, but if we see if anyone can get into 2:03 land for this 40-minute qualifying session.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Michael Zalavari. That gives you a bit of an idea about what to expect in this qualifying session. So here are the graphical details of the track that we just saw in glorious whiteboard form, Manbird.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm liking seeing the corner names rather than just the numbers. It's got so much history, this Mount Panorama circuit. The great McPhillamy Park skyline, and then it's the S's and the Dipper, and all the way down to Forest Elbow. And then Conrod Straight, there was a house for sale on Conrod Straight, so I wonder if any of our viewers happen to nab that one. You go through the chase all the way down to Murray's Corner, and that is a lap of Mount Panorama Circuit.
2:03.989. That was the qualifying record set by Zach Baker last year, and we're looking at Dane Warren. I'd put half a dollar. That's not much. Half a house on him doing that in this session. If not on the first lap.
I would put 50 cents on this particular likely thing happening. Is not a very controversial bet, but
no.
It's appreciated nevertheless. So we've got 37 minutes left to run. No one has actually set a lap time yet because everyone's just done their out laps. We're currently looking at Dane Warren, who is got to be one of the favourites to take out pole position here, considering his qualifying form so far this year, Stairs.
Absolutely. Well, he was the pick, wasn't he? 2:03.7 was what Michael Zalavari called in the KART FX Tech Talk segment down in the bunker. Don't know why I said it that way.
My goodness. I'm glad you're excited, Stairs.
I am excited.
The amount of, I was just watching it happen and I'm like, my goodness, we're looking at him talking about it live.
He's purple through the first sector. He did a 51.192. I think we're about to see a second sector. It's a 124.1, and the live timing will pop up in a moment and show us that that's purple. Of course, it is the only sector so far.
They're all going to be purple.
Exactly.
Unless he gets a track cut, in which case obviously they won't because the lap won't count. But all the way down Conrod, gets out nice and wide for the chase. No lifting through there. And then breaking down into well, that's still the chase, isn't it?
It is very much still the chase. It's the exit, though, of the chase. Ethan Warren's on a good lap too, but he's about half a tenth of a second slower through the first sector than Dane Warren, as we watch Dane come through the final corner.
We have seen Ethan Warren has managed to bring...
BAM! Record gone!
Oh
first lap, 2:03.8. See you later.
We're already in 2:03 land, so, that took us all of 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
See you later.
See you later, to quote Nico Hülkenberg.
Hülkenberg.
Thomas McMillan about half a second down on that time, is second best at the moment with fellow commentator Hans Brunswick in third place at the moment.
I'm looking forward to seeing this pairing, Hans Brunswick and Lewis Wedding.
I had to look at that pairing a few times before I kind of processed, yes, those are the two names that I was seeing, because I'm not used to seeing them together, and it's, as you said, it's going to be very interesting, I reckon. Ethan Warren fell off at the end of that lap, didn't he? He said he was about half a tenth off the pace, ended up 8/10 of a second down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where he lost the time, but then it's reset
like
the second.
Dane Warren's on another quick one. He's just set purple sector through the first one.
Yeah, we're looking at Hans. We don't need to be looking at Hans. Let's have a look at Thomas McMillan. 1:03.
I think Hans would probably disagree with that.
Oh yeah, but he disagrees with most things I've said to him.
Oh my goodness. Thomas McMillan coming down through the S's and the dipper. So he's trying to get that car as close to those walls as he can without touching them. It's more difficult than you would think as he comes through Forest's Elbow. Gets out right nice and wide, and he's down by 7/10 of a second, almost 8/10 of a second.
Now, Ethan Warren's done a pretty good first sector, but the goalposts are about to get moved for him by Dane Warren,
He's currently come down Conrod.
He is coming down Conrod.
So it looks like he's on another purple lap pace.
In his purple car.
In his purple car. That is actually a cracking livery. What's the sponsor for Kurt Stenberg and Jake Maloney?
Ethan Warren down. Oh, that's VRS, the Virtual Racing School there.
VRS, yeah, that logo along with the colours.
2:03.5.
Well. My goodness. We're halfway to 202 land. Is 202 land a thing that exists?
You think,
is that a meme?
Well, it may well be, and not just in Kingswood country. But Dane Warren absolutely destroying the field right now. 8/10 of a second over Thomas McMillan, and Ethan Warren has bowled it wide down at the chase. And so this lap isn't going to be particularly much to write home about either. Madbird, do you think Kurt Stenberg's feeling pretty happy about his choice of driving partner for this race?
I imagine it would be kind of like, I'm trying to think of it'd be like going to the 24 hours of Le Mans, and you've got your choice of Romain Grosjean or Lewis Hamilton as your co-driver.
and you pick Lewis Hamilton on a whim. You're like, oh, you know, let's see how this guy does, and you're, oh, you know, this turned out to be a pretty good idea, didn't it? That was a very meandering anecdote, but nevertheless, I did get through it. And we are looking at now Sean Allen.
First time we've seen him in this qualifying session.
Currently fourth.
It sometimes can be a bit anonymous in qualifying sessions, and then comes good in the race. And the good thing about this qualifying session and race combination is that there's a lot of time to be good in the race.
There is a lot of... it is quite a long race, as Benjamin Dahlia and in the other race on Oz team, the Young Lion gets out of the way there, coming out of Forest Elbow.
So let's see what Sean Allen is on. 2 green sectors. It's sometimes hard with these live timing screens because there's green and then there's a lighter colour of green.
Yes.
And it's a bit difficult to know what one means, but we know what purple means. Purple means fastest.
Purple does mean fastest. I think the lighter green means personal best, and just regular green means up.
Well, Sean Allen did a personal best in the first, and he's up in the second.
Up on
By that, well, he's not up in the third sector. That's what really matters.
So he's cut down. He's 0.03 of a second down, coming on his personal best as he came across the line. So we're meanwhile watching him just disappear off up the mountain straight.
I'm going to show you something you won't see very often, and this is a mistake. Doesn't really matter, but that's Dane Warren missing the pit entry there, locking up on his way in.
Well, you wouldn't want to do that during the race tomorrow. Regardless of how big a lead he may have, that's going to take a long time to get out of that gravel.
Not wrong.
So Matt Cecil was saying, I'm disappointed that they didn't run an only Hans car.
I bet Hans isn't.
And Michael Zalavari Madbird mixing his F1 drivers and WEC drivers, SMH. Is Roman Grosjean a WEC driver? I said, you know...
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Okay.
Well, he might be next year.
He could be.
Since
he's not going to have a drive.
Yeah.
Same with K-Mag.
Since he's hanging up his handbag.
No big loss. I think.
Did you end up watching that clip I told you about with David Croft saying Roman Grosjean has to watch out for Roman Grosjean? Oh, Roman Grosjean has crashed into Roman Grosjean.
No.
That's a horrible bit of luck for Roman Grosjean.
No, I haven't seen that clip. I'll have to look.
Roman Grosjean sweeps through to take the lead after the 2 Roman Grosjean spin out.
He's not a great driver.
I remember when he was very much touted as the next big thing.
Yeah.
And then he didn't really do much, and then he was out of the sport, and then he got back in, and
Has he
he's
ever
been
gotten
a
a
journeyman ever since. I believe he has in his Lotus days.
Oh, so
He nearly
gets
won a
podium.
race once.
He gets a podium and nearly wins a race, whereas Nico Hulkenberg, who's an infinitely nicer person and
Nico
driver,
Hulkenberg
has not got one. Although if he ends up in a Red Bull seat next year, very well could be a possibility.
That's a big surprise to me that he's being considered for that seat.
Well, they've talked about it, and they said Albon had this weekend just gone, and Imola to prove that he is worth keeping in that seat. And if he doesn't, they said they're going to look outside of Red Bull for a replacement. So,
Yeah, that's basically their young drivers program isn't particularly going too well. Speaking of young drivers programs, here's the Benjamin Dahlia Race on Oz Young Lions car.
that transfer stairs, that segue was as smooth as a baby's rear.
There you go.
Well done.
I'm not familiar with the rear end of babies.
I mean, mine's pretty smooth. If you want me to pull my pants down, I
Mate,
can-
you've not been a baby for 30 years.
Oh, well, less than that.
Well, that's true.
I'm not quite.
I'm
30.
rounding up.
Yeah, all right. Oh, I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
So
It's better than being rounded up from alive to dead.
yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So I'm halfway through my lifespan.
Minardi Fan 95 remembers the time when Grosjean got a few podiums. There's few races in 2013 where he was the second best driver on the grid behind Vettel.
My goodness, what a time that would have been.
I think he was always second best to Kimi when he was in that Lotus, though. Yeah, Loose 89 knows exactly what I'm talking about. Loose 89 is the nickname of our good friend Lewis Wedding, who's sharing a car with Hans Brunswick, and looks like they're putting Hans in the car. I don't know, who would you put in to qualify? Lewis is fast, but I don't know how much practice he's done. Hans has put in a bit of practice and has done the Bathurst 500
in AMS Oz, so he's got a bit of laps behind him.
I'm honestly, I don't think I've ever seen Hans Brunswick race, so I've got no idea what his pace would be.
Came second.
Came second in the AMS Oz Bathurst 500.
Actually, he did jump into the Super 2 ASC race in the week, and he won both of those races.
Oh, well,
just short races.
All right, so what we've convinced ourselves of in the process of saying we don't really know what his pace is that he's actually got pretty decent pace around here. So maybe it isn't a foolish manoeuvre to put him in the car.
Well, it is my life to, say things that I think I don't remember, and then I realise that I actually do remember them.
Very, very good. So, we're just watching Benjamin Dahlia come through Forest Elbow.
And we've got some comments from Michael Zalavari. Michael, what have you got for us?
We've got a little
Some
bit of audio
technical issues because we have to have the camera on for your mic to come through. We've got 2 seconds. So what are you going to talk about, Madbird, in those 2 seconds?
In those 2 seconds, I was just going to say that Lewis Wedding did come along to one of our to our Apex rear wing races, just one last season in the BTCC cars, and despite having no practice in the cars, he won that bloody race. So he's definitely no slouch either.
There you go, Michael. What have you got for us?
So Hans did do a very good job at the Bathurst 500 last weekend, finishing second alongside Steve Burko in that car, making that pass on the last lap. And Lewis Wedding as well, as Madbird just said, very, very accomplished driver, did come in and win that race. He's been one of the best drivers in the AMS Oz GT3 series in various guises. So I think that pairing of Brunswick and Wedding could very certainly be one in the mix come, 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Michael. Now, we've just seen a spin there from Benjamin Dahlia. Let's catch a replay. What happened there? Coming into turn 2, and was it on exit? Or was it on entry? Well, it wasn't on entry, and it was on exit. There is Benjamin Dahlia spinning around like a record baby. Yeah, yeah. So, Dane Warren still leads the timesheets. Ethan Warren has surpassed Thomas McMillan for third place. Benjamin Dahlia is actually still trying to get himself going. I think he kept it out of the wall, but I think maybe he's just looking for a bit of a gap in the traffic as all the cars stream past, and I think he's struggling to find one right now, Michael.
Yeah, he does look fairly stuck there at the minute. Seems to just be getting away down at Reed Park. Still going quite slowly. Hasn't quite gotten up to speed just yet.
Very good. You're everywhere, aren't you, Michael?
I'm running around like a headless chicken at the moment. It's great fun.
No, we like that. Zach Baker, here he is coming into the pits. Don't know why I showed you that, because it's not really of any importance at all. Dane Liccardo has lost his front bar, Michael.
Yeah, that doesn't look quite as enjoyable as it would be. Oh, it's actually quite a fair way back.
Yeah, we're looking for the replay now.
Yeah, unfortunate for Dane. He's coming down into the chase at the moment, as you can see. That wouldn't be very nice for the front aero, trying to get through the chase with that big air dam at the front. He's done a nice job of it, though. And it looks like he's had that problem for a long time. We're just finding the replay now, and I think we're just about to show it to you.
Yeah, here is what happened to Dane Liccardo. This was about a lap ago now. Coming out the final corner, very wide, then lit up the rears on the exit, and that was a tank slapper. He had a few goes at trying to save that, didn't he?
He almost did. If the wall wasn't there, he would have gotten away with it. But unfortunately, when concrete comes into contact with car, concrete always wins.
Into the pits for him. No surprises there. Here's a car we haven't seen yet, the DuPont car driven by Instinct. He is paired with Jack Handel, and this is one of the other pairings that is exactly the same as last year's Bathurst 1000.
Yes.
And you would remember them?
Yes,
you were here?
I remember being very enthralled by their livery, which I'm very happy to see hasn't changed in 12 months.
They haven't changed it, yeah. Call it laziness, or I just call it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. They've gotten onto something good. It looks like, based on the timing sectors, that this lap for Instinct has been done in by a track cut because they're missing a sector 2 time, and in fact he's coming straight into the pits. Currently sitting in 8th place. He did have a best first sector that lap around, a 52.5.
Now this is a livery that I'm sure that you'll appreciate. Actually, are you a Holden fan or a Ford fan?
Ooh, I kind of float.
should-
I follow drivers. When I was younger,
People
I was very
hate
much
your
a Ford
type.
fan. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but well, he's coming to the pits now, so we can't really see the livery as well here. But the classic Mark Scaife livery from the early 2000s. But there is a splash of green on the back of that car, which sort of alludes to the Pleb Sim Sport connection there.
Yeah, so what is the Plebs Sim Sport colour and group? I've not really
Green.
encountered them before.
Their favourite alcoholic beverage is something called Victoria Bitter.
Ah, okay, that makes
Which
sense.
I'm led to believe they like, and that came as a huge surprise to me that there was a human being on this planet that did think that was something that was worth putting inside your body. But
It's almost as if it's almost like a South Australian saying West End is something worth drinking.
well, West End apparently isn't worth drinking. It's gone out of business.
Oh, another South Australian icon that's hit the can.
Superloop, West End. I'm honestly sadder about West End than Superloop. And I don't even like West End.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
South Australian jobs,
Who needs them?
No, we want them. we want
Everyone
the job.
needs
Michael, we want the job. They took our jobs.
So we're almost halfway through qualifying.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of change at the top. At the top, even though we've had a lot of running. There's only 3 cars in the pits. Yeah, our Holden as well.
Yeah.
Our dear friend James Donovan saying. James Donovan watching along. Thanks for watching along, James.
We're having a lot of fun here in the booth.
We are. We do. We try and make this fun. This is like a dress rehearsal for tomorrow more than anything else.
And so far the dress rehearsal's gone okay.
Yeah, a few little hiccups that I'm glad that we managed to catch tonight, and we'll hopefully iron them out for tomorrow. If you're watching along, hope you're enjoying. Aaron Simon says, I kept West End alive with a slab this past weekend. Very good.
Nice. And that looks like a slow Thomas McMillan that we've just sweeped past.
Oh. Is he just finding a gap, or has he had an error of sorts?
Well, he's missing a Sector 1 time, so he might have had a track cut. And it looks like he was just getting out of the way.
That was nice of him.
Ethan Warren. Yeah, we'll just maybe... Are we going to bring up that replay? I'm not sure.
We most certainly are. I mean, you can say we're going to bring up the replay and then I'll do it, even if I wasn't planning to, so that I don't make a liar of you. But there it is. That's Thomas McMillan looking for some space, and
still doing a very good
Thomas
job.
McMillan turns into he's like a racing savant when he wants to be. He's basically, if it's something like Townsville or Newcastle or the Bend or some race that he doesn't particularly care about, he'll throw it at the weeds, just in anger. But if it's something that he really cares about winning, like the Gold Coast, Sandown, or Bathurst, then, he turns into a really formidable force. And we saw that he actually got the shootout pole position last year, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he was very close to it. I think it was either Kurt or Thomas McMillan.
Yeah.
And I'm regretting not writing that down now.
I certainly remember jumping in the night before the race and actually having a chat to everyone, and them doing practice starts, and McMillan being very, very serious about the practice starts that he was trying to get from the head of the field. As we just watched Ethan Warren start another flying lap. And they didn't have the Bathurst that they would have liked last year, did they? It was a bit of a tumultuous day, which ended with a DNF about halfway through.
Yeah, unfortunate. We hope those technical gremlins stay away for this race. We are using a different version of the Bathurst track, one that's much more accurate. A lot of chat going on in the live chat. Mr. Walshy says Foster's is the only way to go.
Oh, well, Walshy can leave this country, then that's fine.
Too awful, guys. He knows what it's at. He's referring to something called the 7-Eleven Bordeaux, which is like, it would put the entire Barossa would be put to shame by this. It's absolutely just a drop like nothing else, and you could age that for 100 years, but it's as good after 4 years as a Grange Hermitage after 50 years.
Sure.
You don't believe me.
Well, I'm not a drinker, so I don't have to believe you. That's
Oh,
fine.
there you go. Well, you know, there's a lot happening in the world of non-alcoholic beverages these days. I don't know if that's anything that you're interested in. It probably isn't, because if you don't drink, then you probably don't like the taste of alcohol.
No.
So
I'm missing out on that world as well.
there you go.
I do quite like coffee, though. If you want to talk to me about coffee.
I'll talk to you about coffee.
Ooh,
How good are the beans?
the beans of... Oh, you got me there.
No, I mean, it sounds like I'm making fun of you, but
Yeah.
I do like a good coffee. Ben Thompson says savant wasn't the word I would use. That was in regards to my comments about Thomas McMillan as we watch Ethan Warren make his way past the DuPont car. DuPont car currently driven by Instinct.
And Ethan Warren, he's going to come across the line. He improves to second place, a 2:04.1. So
Well, he
he's...
was in second anyway.
Oh, no, he's just eclipsed Thomas McMillan. in
Oh,
fact.
yes, beg your pardon. So Thomas McMillan actually jumped up, the savant, jumped up ahead to second without me noticing, because we're talking about coffee and wine.
Fastest final sector for Ethan Warren, so a lot of good work down that back straight.
39.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello, boys. It's
And
pretty good.
remember in practice, the one I had up on the board was a 39.7, so he's done 2/10 quicker than that. So he's on a heater, as they say.
Watching Dane Warren here, he hasn't set the timings alight on this particular lap, but his first sector was faster than Ethan's, and his middle sector was faster than Ethan's. So we didn't see just how close he was to his own personal best. Let's see what he can do here. Well, that's pretty rubbish by his standards. It's still a 2:04.2. That would have been, that would have been second row, I reckon, last year.
Yeah, and it would have been good enough for second row tonight as well at the moment, with both Ethan Warren and Thomas McMillan on 2:04.1s.
Thomas McMillan's actually on a bit of a PB lap. Let's watch him.
He's coming over towards Skyline. Oh, and Zach Baker there does a very good job of getting out of the way as McMillan drifts it through the S's. Nicely held.
Aaron Simons has put a little bit of an addendum to his comment about buying a slab of West End by saying that it tasted like rusty water, not going to lie.
And McMillan's up on his PB, but still 6/10 away from Dane Warren's pole-sitting time at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't like that exit out of Forest. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye, but it looked like he had a bit of a wiggle there.
Yeah, it was a bit narrow on entry in my opinion, so maybe not quite getting the drive out of the corner that he would have liked, but he gets through the chase quite nicely, gets the car settled, and tips it in.
Using all the apron on the entry too. See how he exits. Oh, he's right on the edge of adhesion there, like that. Past the KO signs.
And into the final corner, Murray's.
Ooh, bit of a lock up of the inside front there. Little bit of a wiggle on the exit. Can he improve? He does.
And he's
found
in
2:10.
2:03.
He's jumped ahead of Ethan Warren yet. Fable 2:03 land.
We have
for
another
Thomas
entry.
McMillan.
We have
All
another
right.
entry into 203 land.
Join the club.
It's club of two at the moment.
A club of two. Dane Warren and Thomas McMillan. But we...
Just want to jump in quickly, boys.
Yes, sorry, Matt Dunlop. We have been completely ignoring you. Please
That's
go
all
ahead.
good. No worries. Just got a couple of things I wanted to throw in. First of all, I know this has been alluded to in the YouTube chat already, but I just wanted to draw attention to it in the broadcast that today is Hans Brunswick's birthday. So happy
Aw.
birthday to you, mate.
Happy birthday, Hans.
Now, you were talking earlier as well about the different colours green in the live timing on the splits. For everyone who's following along the live timing, if you're not, you can go to rsmclanau.liveraces.com and look at the timing screens there. It seems like there's not just two shades of green, there's a whole multitude of shades going all the way from red to black up to green, and I think, this is just a guess, that's just how fast you are relative to everybody else in that split. So the brighter the green, the quicker you're going. And I guess when you're purple, that means you are definitely quicker than everybody else. Now, one more thing. We've got 11 cars in the session at the moment, but there's 13 entered. So you alluded to the fact earlier that we were missing the car belonging to, I think it was Jake Maloney and Joe Mugford. But we're also missing the number 69 belonging to Stenny, not to be confused with Kurt Stenberg, and a claim bite. And I thought about that because you were talking about how Sean Allen is normally anonymous in qualifying, and who better to be completely anonymous at qualifying than the bloke Jake Maloney, who never even shows up for the session and comes in and just takes it away in the race.
Well, it's good to know that stuff about the timing as well there, Matty. I didn't really know what I was looking at before.
Yeah, that's just an educated guess, though. So take that with a pinch of salt. And if anybody else in the chat happens to be following along the live stream and wants to give me a more educated guess as to what's going on, I'm all ears.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Dane Liccardo while you were talking there, Maddie, put it straight into the wall again. That was it coming out of the cutting, I think it was. And that's the second front bar he's lost tonight.
He's chewing through them pretty quickly, isn't he? I imagine he's got a pretty big trailer just full of them out the back ready to go.
You would hope so, because well, we're not even. What are we? Oh goodness, there's actually only 13 minutes left in this qualifying session. And if your name is Udrit Mishra, then you've got the unfortunate distinction of being the only driver to be knocked out of the top 10 shootout thus far. But there is still time for him to improve.
Plus the other two drivers, of course. The other two cars, I should say.
Well, that's true. Of the drivers that have set times, I should hasten to add. Michael Zalavari has vacated the seat next to me. It's now been occupied by Madbird. Welcome back, Madbird.
Thank you very much. Michael Zalavari, more like Michael Zalavacated.
Yep, that's we'll let that
He's
one
walked
go.
away in disgust.
Well, if I could, I would.
Unfortunately, you are tethered.
I'm tethered. Oh, Dane Warren getting it all wrong and somehow gathers it up. Gathers it up.
That was an impressive feat.
Let's see a replay, shall we?
Let's your patented slow motion replay.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Let's see how
as he comes over. Where did he get it crossed up? It was.
Oh, just
it was
tagged
just
the wall
there.
As he's coming through Skyline, he just tagged that Coates Hire hoarding on the right hand side.
There's some angle there. Bit of Oppo.
Bit of Oppo.
Just a dash.
An Oppo Loco.
A little bit of oregano.
Got another Go Hans in the chat from Loose89. Thank you very much, Lewis.
If he wasn't barracking for his teammate, then I don't know who would.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
So, did I hear right that it's Hans Brunswick's birthday?
It is.
My goodness.
Matt Dunlop, how old is he turning?
That's a really good question. Let me get onto that and I'll get a report back to you.
You come back to us with that. All right. Well, we got Matt Dunlop on the case. We do.
We do indeed. And you know, who else would you want on the case? He's like a bulldog, like a beagle,
a rabid bulldog,
scenting out drugs because you know he does partake.
Madbird.
I don't know if he does or not.
Let's go on a lap. Let's go on a lap of this Bathurst track with the man who's been he's been forging away ahead. Here he is coming up Mountain Straight, all the way up
and into the
into turn 2.
Into turn 2, which is known as Quarry. I'd forgotten what it was called, so thank you for.
Now this is this infamous part where Murph and Ambrose came a cropper, and also where Whincup came a cropper many years later into the cutting there, up the hill, past the tree on the right-hand side as we are just after this bridge here, and then you start turning left here. Lots of flat-out section, and look how close they are to the edge of the racetrack. That is about as close as you want to get, man.
You start turning left, and then you just kind of never really stop until right around here.
Oh, on the curb! Oh, goodness, he's pushing the limits here down the hill through the S's into the dipper. And what's the time look like? It's 51 flat for the first sector, which isn't purple, but it's not bad.
This does not show how steep this really is, folks. When you're there in person, this does not look anywhere near this. It looks a lot steeper in person than it does from the bottom of the car. He's down through the second.
Yeah, 10th and a half off. Very narrow entry into Forest Elbow, but clean on the exit.
Yep, and obviously the exit's the most important part because this is the longest straight and the fastest straight, and this is the fastest corner in Australian motorsport, I'm led to believe.
Escape bingo.
Escape bingo as he comes through the exit of the chase. Nice and tidy out on the curb just a little bit. Gets a little bit of curb there, uses all the track available to him, and he comes down into Murray's. Nice heavy braking, just misses the inside curb but hits the apex, uses all the track available to him, and only just down.
He found time in that final sector and ended up only adrift by 13 thousandths of a second. Madbird's very hard to read the splits on Dane Warren's onboard when he's got such brightly coloured paint on his bonnet.
He does. It does indeed. And I think Mr. Walshy's hopped in with an answer to our question on how old Hans Brunswick is with 16.
All right. Anyone else got? Is it higher, lower?
Yeah. Let's get some. Anyone who's listening, pop your guess in the chat. How old is Hans Brunswick? And then when Matty hops back in with the answer,
man of the hour.
You know, whoever gets the closest gets a sticker. How about that?
good birthday driving around Bathurst. Think of a few, not too few better ways to spend it.
No, imagine having your birthday on Bathurst 1000.
Mine is close because I'm an October boy.
You are indeed. I consistently forget your birthday, and then you have to remind me that it's your car number.
Which I don't drive anymore, so it doesn't really make much difference. Acclaim Bite Madbird has joined the server with 8 minutes left. He's got to get out there quickly.
He likes to live dangerously, does Acclaim Bite. So Dane Liccardo would not be happy with that because he was looking pretty safe in 10th. But Acclaim Bite is sort of an unknown quantity. So in the last 8 minutes, can he hop up into the top 10 and knock Dane Liccardo into the danger zone?
Well, this is the man on the bubble at the moment.
It is indeed. Not pronounced Licciardo, as we did assume at one stage.
Well, he corrected me himself. He said it is pronounced the same way that Ricardo pronounces his name, except just with an L instead of an R. So basically, I won't say a racist joke.
So I believe the Acclaim Bite's teammate is Stenny, I think. Yes, Stenny, who is Kurt Stenberg's father. So they've got Acclaim Bite in the car, sensibly, to try to get it as high up the qualifying order as they possibly can.
Here is that car. First time we've seen it on track.
The Holden tribute team.
Yes, the
Thanks,
Holden
fans.
So the Dream Team, they've labelled themselves in their registration.
Good on them.
Oh, not quite as accurate at first laps, really, in this session. So he'll be feeling out the grip levels at this stage.
He's hoping to get into the shootout just so he gets an extra lap of practice.
Maybe. I don't know if that is, he could potentially practice after being knocked out of the shootout in a private server.
You know, maybe he's doing like the Nuzlocke challenge of Bathurst 1000s where he's only able to practice during qualifying.
There you go. He's put a bit of damage on his car in this outlap.
I think he was trying to get out of the way of that particular car, which I'm not sure who that was.
That was one of the Black Shores cars.
Tino and Steve Warwick, perhaps?
Yes, I think it was. I think
They've
you're
got
right.
a bit more black on their car, whereas the Ethan Warren Colin Warwick entry is more white.
So good to see. Good to see some really colourful. Derailed.
Hashtag derailed.
Let's have a look at Uja Mishra finishing this lap. Can he pop himself up into the 10? We're really focusing on this bubble time now, and struggling around that final corner. Cannot improve. He's got to find about a second. Sorry, what am I talking about? He's got to find about 0.3 of a second. He's not too far away.
No, he's about... No, you were right. He's 1.2 seconds behind 10th place man Dane Liccardo. I think that 0.3 was off his personal
No,
best.
I'm looking at the times up here.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 0.3 between Benjamin Dahlia and Dane Liccardo. So I think the times we're looking at here...
The two next are incorrect, which is nice.
No, they're correct. It's 0.2...
No, but plus 0.1.2 according to that.
Yeah, that's Mishra.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at Liccardo.
Oh, you were looking at Liccardo.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
Oh, do apologise.
Yeah.
See,
No, you were correct. I'm wrong.
We were correct. We were both correct. We were just looking at the wrong.
Yeah, but
thing.
the person that we were talking about was not the one that I was looking at.
Yeah, I was trying to let you out of that, but if you're gonna put yourself back in it, I'm not gonna. I'll accept it.
I've enjoyed my ride in the washing machine.
Ah, yes.
So Acclaim Bite hasn't set a time. And isn't going to.
Oh, yeah, that's put paid to that particular attempt. I wonder how much damage he has, if any. And he's killed ZB Racing's lap.
Very much balked him there, didn't
I
he?
imagine they won't be particularly
Let's
happy.
catch a replay of that, and we're just looking at Acclaim Bite as he dipped a wheel in the grass. I think that might have been what unsettled the car, and then here was the ZB car coming around the corner at full tilt and sees a car. That's the sort of thing that in real life leads to aeroplane crashes.
Yeah, that was a unsafe re-entry to be polite.
Let's see what Mishra can do. He's just coming down to the chase and getting the car stopped. These sort of these sections, the 90-degree corners, you see them almost turn for the corner, and it looks like they're actually turning too early, but the car then sort of understeers in a way that you just hook it up nicely.
It's controlled lack of control.
Yeah, that's a good term for it.
He hasn't managed to improve on his personal best.
He's pushing hard, but his laps will be a few laps old. Those tyres, I should say,
Oh,
would be a few laps old by now.
As you said that, he locked up the inside front coming into the hell corner and scrubbed off quite a bit more of that tyre.
The time to beat has come and gone for a claim bite. So this is just going to be his first lap. And it is, of course, well off the pace because we saw him have that spin.
I'm surprised that he's only that far down, to be 100% honest.
He's only going to have 2 more opportunities if he's fueled for it.
Yep, we've only got 3 minutes left in this qualifying session. That's gone bloody quick, hasn't
Thomas McMillan actually jumped into the 203s. Oh, we saw that. Sorry, Ethan Warren hasn't jumped into the 203s is what I meant to say.
What we need is for Blair Warren to get in there and shake a 50 in his face. Because the last time that happened, Thomas McMillan took out Dane Warren. So, you know, could make it exciting.
Might be easier said than done because Blair Warren could shake as many 50s in my face as possible. There's no chance I'd be getting anywhere near a 203. We've got Hans
What
Brunswick.
would you do for that 50?
Well, I mean, if it was possible for me to do anything like that. Or Udrit Mishra has come a cropper.
Oh, and that is where he sensibly has escaped back to the pits because he was parked almost perfectly across the... I'm not sure if that was Skyline or the S's. I think it might have been the S's.
And that'll be his qualifying session done if he can't get out in the next 5 seconds.
Oh.
Bang.
Crash.
Udrit Mishra. And he is in the pits still, so that's it for Udrit Mishra. He is not going to be in the top 10 shootout. It's up to a claim bite.
Got caught and passed by the Hans Brunswick and Lewis Wedding car there.
Yeah, I bet they loved having to do that on that lap. But I mean, he's safe. Hans Brunswick is safe. There's absolutely no concerns there
Same as houses.
whatsoever.
I hope.
So a claim bite, well, is much better. But 3 seconds up is probably nowhere near what he needs because he's still 9 seconds off Dane Warren, which puts him down around about a 2:10. The time to beat is a 2:07.003.
Yep, so current personal best for a claim bite is 17 seconds off the pace. So wants to bring that down by about 14 seconds.
Oh, he's locked it up there.
Won't be doing it on this occasion.
Those front tyres.
Yeah, 50-cent pieces. $half pieces, to use Stairs' language.
$half pieces.
As he comes down into Murray's and another little lock up there.
He'll have one more opportunity. There's a minute left on the timing.
So he's still is still improved by 3 seconds. So can he do it? Can he pull it out of the hat at the very death? And no,
that's it. Well, that's it.
He's pulled over.
That's a premature end to qualifying. Let's
Is that
see.
everyone in the pits?
Well, I mean, from the point of view of getting into the top 10,
Oh, it's a very good point.
we've decided because our 11th and 12th drivers are in the pits. So that's basically it for them. We're looking at Benjamin Dahlia here, and he is in 9th place. So interesting, the selection. So of the guys who are not qualifying that I would have expected to be qualifying, potentially Lewis Wedding. Let's see, who else?
Probably Lewis Wedding's the one. The Lewis Wedding and Hans Brunswick. That's the one that I'm surprised.
Joe Mugford and Joe... Oh, Benjamin Dahlia. Gracious me.
Spun it out. Yeah, Joe Mugford and Jake Maloney not in evidence, but as we've seen the entire season long, if Jake Maloney's starting the race, it doesn't matter where he starts.
That is the most Jake Maloney thing ever.
Are you going to qualify for the 1,000? Nah. I'll start at the rear and be fighting for the lead by the end of the first lap. He likes to give everyone else a bit of a chance. So we're just seeing a quick replay here.
Yeah, I think we saw the crash before. We're just catching another replay of what happened there.
So he came up through the cutting, and then he's coming up through onto Griffins and just oversteers and directly into the wall. So not a huge accident, was able to continue onwards, but would definitely have put paid to that particular qualifying lap attempt.
Guys, just before we head into the shootout, I've been trying to stalk Hans's Facebook profile as desperately as possible to find any indication of his age. There's absolutely nothing. I went all the way down to 2012, and not one single person mentioned his age. So at this point, I'm just going to extrapolate and intrapolate based on what the guesses are that we have in the chat. So let's see. We had Mr. Walshy73 guessing 16, Kristen W guessing 300. So I think they're both pretty good guesses. So I'm going to split the difference and say Hans is 158 years old today.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess, Madbird.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty safe guess, Stairs. Alrighty. So we are going to quickly jump over to Michael once again in the KART FX bunker to give us a little bit of analysis on the qualifying session.
Absolutely, Michael. What have you got for us?
Won't be a sec, Michael.
Sorry, I'll get this switching right in a second.
One day.
Off you go.
Off we go. We good? We good? Okay, we're good. So I've taken a little bit of a look here at the KART FX bunkers to have a look at how close that qualifying session was for the top 3 cars. So the gap at the finish line here, we're assuming it's about 120 kilometers per hour at the finish line. So you convert that to meters per second and then times that by the gap between, I think it was Dane Warren and Thomas McMillan in second place. That gives you 19.5 meters is the difference between those two as they cross the line. Now, if you divide that 19.5 meters by that 6.213 kilometer length of the track, that works out to a percentage of 0.33% difference across the course of the lap. If you want to go even further and have a look at the gap between second and third place Ethan Warren, their gap was 0.145 of a second, which works out to about 4.83 meters at the line. And if you do that as a percentage, that is going to be 0.07% across 6.2 kilometers. That is a tiny gap that these guys have got to find for the shootout coming up just next.
Thank you for that, Michael. Very, very interesting. It just goes to show you how small the tolerances are around Bathurst. It's 6.2 Ks, which you'd think, oh, that's plenty of time to make up for a mistake, but nope. It's you've got to be inch perfect to put it on pole around here, and now's the time that we get to see who is able to do that this time around.
Yeah, we got 50 minutes lined up on the shootout clock, but I don't think we'll need all of those 50 minutes, Madbird.
I would be very surprised if the shootout ended up running 50 minutes, because that's a mean lap time of 5 minutes per runner.
Look at that sky, Madbird.
That is stunning.
It is stunning.
We were treated to a lovely sunset in person, actually, not too long ago.
Didn't see it. Oh
my goodness, that's
we've
also
had
a fantastic sunset.
some server issues there, clearly, as they try and sort that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loving it. I picked up that water, and then I wasn't 100% sure if this was my water. It is my water.
Pretty
Michael
sure I saw you drink out of that before, Madbird.
Very good. Yeah, well, if it isn't my water, it's my water now.
Yes. Fantastic.
So, we're just rebooting the server by the looks of it, so we should be off and running with the shootout in just a few moments' time, and it will be Dane Licciardo. Licciardo. We literally just talked about this. Dane Licciardo will be starting us off as he finished in 10th place in the qualifying session. So he will be the first one to take to the track.
That's exactly right, Madbird.
So while you've got a few minutes, while we wait for this to all work itself out, why don't you give us a like? Does help very much. Subscribe, of course, to Automobilista Supercars Championship YouTube channel if you have not already. And hop over onto asc.rocksolidmates.com for all the information, or Facebook, search for Automobilista Supercars Championship, and also for us, Apex Rear Wing. Give us a like as well. It does help out quite a lot. And if you like the show that we're putting on and all of the stops that we are pulling out, then hop over onto patreon.com/Apex Rear Wing. And any dollars and cents that you can spare once a month, greatly, greatly appreciated. So it looks like the server is back up. We're just waiting to see if any of the cars are going to start coming out onto track stairs.
That's right, and the order has been reset on our live timing screen, so I think we're looking for Dane Licciardo, and there he is at the end of the pit lane.
And as it just showed up on the screen then, rsmclanau.liveraces.com for all of the live timing. So if you want to follow along with their sectors, sector by sector, as they go for their shootout laps, then hop over to rsmclanau.liveraces.com and check out the live timing.
So here is the outlap for Dane Licciardo. All eyes on him. Would you be nervous?
I would be, yes. I would be nervous. I've just noticed the KFC logo in the very centre of the back of their car. That's quite pleasing. But yes, this is where the pressure comes in. We do shootouts quite a lot over an Apex rear wing, and we often talk about the trying to push for as fast as you can, or just putting in a banker lap and making sure that you're not going to be starting out at the back of the top 10, because if you push a bit too hard, maybe get a corner cut, then you're starting from 10th, but you also want to try to start up as far up as you can, so you want to push those boundaries. Just there's a bit of a balance to be found and a margin to be left for error.
207.003, that was the lap time Dane Liccardo set to get himself into the top 10 shootout. And it's always interesting to see which drivers do a better lap in the shootout than they did in the qualifying session to get into the shootout, Madbird.
It is. See whether they can pull out an extra gear, find themselves a few tenths of a second. Maybe they were even sandbagging during the qualifying session.
I don't know.
Play a little bit of mind games. Although I would doubt that very much, based on the times that we had. So it was only Udrit Mishra, a claim bite, and the combined entry, the Trans-Tasman entry of Jake Maloney and Joe Mugford, who are not present in this shootout. Jake Maloney and Joe Mugford, of course, did not compete in the qualifying session at all.
And that's why they didn't make the top 10. So we've got some new names down in the live chat there. Starrett Simsports saying, "Come on, Dano, up the Starrett Simsports."
Matt Cecil saying, "You've got to be calculated."
Now Dane Liccardo, well, the first sector time we'll be looking at, he did a 52 in the first sector. That doesn't, I mean, that compares to Dane Warren, who did a 50.8. And then the second sector, Dane Warren did a 32.8. It was Thomas McMillan who got the fastest final sector of a 39.525. Only marginally, but it was faster than Dane Warren.
It was a little bit of a careful hell corner, I'd say, for Dane Liccardo. Didn't look like he was pushing all too much. We won't get to see how his sector time is comparing for just a little bit. Still about 20 seconds left as he comes up towards the cutting, where we saw Jamie Whincup straight into that wall.
Oh, that's wide.
And as he slid wide.
Late apex. I was going to say that's wide, but I reckon he made that work. Late apex for Dane Liccardo. There was a little bit of a snatch break on the inside. You saw a puff of smoke come up from his inside front tyre on the left-hand side.
So he's slower through the first sector than he was on his qualifying lap by about 4 tenths of a second. Nice and close to the wall, though.
4 tenths, you say? So he's maybe taking it easy. We do see this because there will probably be someone who throws their lap away, and that's a free grid spot if you can just do a nice measured lap and record a time.
Yep. You want to be a hero, but you also don't want to be a hero, if that makes sense. It
does make sense.
A balancing act.
It is.
So, blood and health.
Middle sector split. Dane Warren stops the clock at a 26.9.
Stops the what, sorry?
The clock.
Okay, I heard something different.
Yeah, you did. You hear what you want to hear. Dane Liccardo coming down the fastest straight in Australian motorsport. Conrod straight.
Coming into the fastest corner in Australian motorsport.
There you go. The chase.
The chase. Wonder what you're chasing.
Well, lap time.
That's
what Dane Liccardo's chasing right here. So he makes his exit out of the chase, down the little hill, under the Armour All sign, into Murray's. Pretty smooth. Turns it in. No theatrics on the exit, so I like that from Dane Liccardo, and he does a 207.3, quite a respectable time there.
So a few tenths down on the time that he did during the qualifying session.
Oops.
But he's still in there, and he's set in a banker lap so that he is for sure got a lap time once any other also-rans maybe abort their laps or crash or maybe cut the track and have their lap time invalidated. We've got Benjamin Dahlia just sitting at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like he's waiting. There he goes. Probably hasn't been given the go-ahead until just now, so they're not doing the shootouts the same way we do an Apex rear wing, as we're trying to condense them into a smaller period of time. They're obviously staggering it out to increase the theatre of the event.
They are indeed. Couple of questions about who made this particular version of Bathurst, and getting some confirmation from Reddy's Racing that this is an automobile Assetto Corsa Competizione to Assetto Corsa to Automobilista Motorsport Simulator port. So it's gone through quite a few pairs of hands, but it is a pretty decent representation of Bathurst.
Not a single pair of those hands dropped it though, because it has come up an absolute treat.
And all of those hands were obviously wearing gloves, and were passing it to one another from a safe distance of about 1.5 metres.
And it wasn't the hands who's currently sat in the garage, because he's up next.
No, he's hidden himself there behind those tyre power signs and also a concrete wall.
That is a garage. So Benjamin Dahlia, what are you expecting from Benjamin? He did a 206.7 in the qualifying session, which was about 0.3 faster than Dane Liccardo, the only man to set a time so far.
I reckon he had a bit more pace in him and just wasn't able to pull together a lap, so this could be the time for him to do so. He's definitely getting some warmth into those tyres. He's wiggling wherever he's got a couple of seconds between corners.
Goodness me, he had some dominance in the Super 2 Championship. Madbird, he really strung some podium finishes together and a lot of wins.
Well, he got promoted up into the main series pretty often on the back of those efforts, so I imagine that he'll probably end up being in the main game full-time for next season. As I'm, oh my goodness, looking at a picture on the computer that is disconcerting to say the least. So Benjamin Dahlia just coming through the chase on his outlap, so he's getting his last little bits of mental preparation in. Just trying to take in some deep breaths.
That's the best kind of preparation. Apart from, like, you know, tyre temperature and brake temperature and all that sort of thing.
Getting the last of his temperature into his tyres as he crosses the line to start his flying lap.
Ahoy to Kurt Stenberg watching along. Unusual for him to be a spectator. That's probably why we've got so many more viewers than we normally do. Half the field's sitting out watching this fantastic session.
Absolutely. Good to see you in there, Stenny. And just confirming that he converted it he converted both R-Factor 2 and Assetto Corsa ports of the Assetto Corsa Competizione track, and it took 120 hours at least. So
huge effort.
That's a huge effort. In addition to running Automobilista Supercars Championship, he does stuff like that. So thank you very much to Kurt for making this particular version of the track possible.
Oh, Benjamin Dahlia lit it up, but he's coming up to the split. Let's see what he can do. We haven't really been paying too much attention to this lap until that caught our attention, but look at the split! It's awesome!
He's up by 0.2 of a second, so it would have been even more if he hadn't gone quite so leery coming out of the cutting. Comes across McPhillamy Park and down towards Skyline, and nice and tidy through there. Gets up on the curb as you want to and tucks it right up nice against the wall, and now begins the zigzag down the mountain.
Well, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Benjamin Dahlia. Mark Scaife is God, says Kurt Stenberg. A little bit of a lock-up there from Dahlia on the entry to Forest Elbow, and just gives a little caressing nudge to the wall on the exit. Up by 0.4.
Yep, so looking good for Benjamin Dahlia. He's improved a couple of tenths in that second sector as well, so probably going to improve another couple of tenths by the time he hits the end of the lap over Dane Liccardo's time. Comes into the chase, nice heavy braking zone. Oh, gets that car turned right in. A little bit of a wiggle on the exit and shoots on down towards Murray's.
So Benjamin Dahlia, one more corner between himself and knowing, I was going to say where he's going to start, but he won't know that till everyone finishes their lap, but he'll know whether he'll finish ahead of Dane Liccardo, and he most certainly will. He's beaten his lap time by the tune of 0.6 of a second, 26.7.
Very good, so he can continue off on his cool-down lap while we've got Hans Brunswick, the birthday boy, coming through Forest Elbow and on down Conrod Straight for their warm-up in the Mustang. The number 512, no, I'm looking at the wrong one, the 111 All-Australian Races. What a name.
If you look at the lap time, Madbird, that Benjamin Dahlia did in the qualifying session, a 206.733 to a 206.747. So he's only,
he probably
a dozen milliseconds.
He did that on purpose. He did that on purpose because he's a fan of the long reach that Qantas are unfortunately retiring. Fantastic aircraft.
Why make me sad?
Why? Why you do this?
Kurt Stenberg just reminding everyone that if anyone does want to jump in tomorrow to race, we've got some wildcard cars available. And they look an absolute treat, actually. The wildcard, there's Mustangs and there's Commodores. So if anyone wants to do a cheeky 1,000 laps around, or 1,000 laps, 1,000 kilometres around Bathurst.
You've made the mistake that I used to make, where before I was into motorsport, I always thought the Bathurst 1000 was 1,000 laps.
The difference is you thought that, I just had a slip of the tongue.
Yep, very true. I was the
Andy
idiot.
Simpson, it would be good to have you guys. You don't have a sim, that's unfortunate. One of the fastest guys. We should be paying attention to this lap from Hans Brunswick and the Peter Jackson, I think it is, inspired livery. Looking pretty good there. Lewis Wedding on one side and Hans Brunswick on the other.
So when you say Peter Jackson inspired livery, I expect to see hobbits and Gandalf on, but no, not in evidence.
Marlborough was the director of Lord of the Rings.
But yeah, absolutely. We need some get a couple more people out there tomorrow. So Rhodey, why don't you hop in the car and see if you can match RSM Latino's effort of doing the entire thing by himself last year.
It's been a good lap so far for Hans Brunswick.
Nice and clean.
Hans Richmond, as he is, I believe, called on his Facebook page.
Oh.
Those who are aware of the names of Melburnian suburbs will get the joke. Oh, he's down by a tenth.
I got it.
Brunswick being an inner-city suburb of Melbourne.
I've been to Brunswick.
There you go.
I went to a jazz bar there because that's the sort of thing you do in Brunswick.
Well, is there anything else to do in Brunswick?
Well, there was also George's bar.
On your George?
Which was absolutely deserted. Myself and my friend were the only people in there for about 2 hours.
And that's what you want.
On a Friday night, no less.
So through the chase and out of the chase goes Hans Brunswick. Nudges two wheels up onto the curb on the outside there, into the final corner. Absolutely on the line on the entry there. Ooh, bit of curb there. It unsettled the car. And it is pole position provisionally at 206.7 at the death. He clawed some time back on Benjamin Dahlia and 300ths of a second. These are tight margins.
They absolutely are very, very tight margins. Here is that man I was just talking about, RSM Latino, who, like a mad lad, did the entire thing by himself last year. This time around, he's got a teammate in, I believe it's Stenny.
Correct.
Yep, no, that is a Claim Bites teammate. Do apologise.
Steve Warwick.
I am not correct.
It was the other
Warwick.
father of an admin,
Yep.
Steve Warwick.
We've got two father-son teams, but not actually teamed up.
Now, Stenny, it was Stenny and I believe it was a Claim Bite he was teamed up with last year. They had trouble with their pits last year. They couldn't change their pit menu, so they always, when they went into the pit stop, only had the car filled up to about 3/4 of a tank.
That's right, I
They had to
remember.
do so many more pit stops. We were so confused.
Pulling our hair out, being like, what is this strategy move? And it turned out not to be a strategy move at all. It was just a error. James Donovan in the chat just saying, what is George's Bar, Madbird? Please explain. It is a bar in Melbourne that is entirely themed around the character George Costanza from Seinfeld.
It was Dodger who was teamed up with Stenny last year, Stenny being Peter Stenberg. So Claim Bite's taken Dodger's place in that car. Dodger, a crowd favourite of ours.
Wonder if we could, speaking of crowd favourites, I wonder if we could convince Xeris to do the entire thing by himself tomorrow.
Surely he and his brother Phil could do it.
Phil, unfortunately, has a Muay Thai.
Excuse me? Have you got something in your mouth?
It's a Brazilian, I believe, martial art. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation.
I was very confused because I thought you weren't going to say anything else after the word Brazilian.
He has a Muay Thai grading or something tomorrow morning. So otherwise he was keen. But
okay. Surely we could get
Muay Thai,
Foley and Xeris. Imagine that combination.
Oh my goodness, that'd be formidable. See if we can make that happen.
RSM Latino. Now I was surprised to see that he outqualified Hans Brunswick and Benjamin Dahlia. In fact, RSM Latino's brushed the wall there. No disrespect, of course, to RSM Latino. But, of course, as he did tell us, this is the over 50s car. And despite bumping and barging their way all the way down the hill, they are still up on the split from Hans Brunswick. So I think the 50-year-olds, or the over 50s, are showing them how it's done a little bit here, because I think the other guys were a little bit too conservative.
Yeah, a little bit of a, it's not age, it's experience. So they're doing very, very well. for two men on Zimmer frames.
Backs it in. Backs it in.
Backs it right in and comes on down towards Murray's underneath the armour all sign, or bridge even. Nice, tidy braking zone. A little bit of a lock up there. Goes a little bit pear-shaped through the corner, crosses the line and ends on third.
Yeah.
And that was all in that last sector.
Yeah, well...
Well,
Hunts doesn't have a Zimmer frame.
They certainly... my goodness, they certainly put paid to what we were saying about them proving everybody wrong. They proved everybody right at the bitter end.
2/3 of the way there. They didn't quite get it done in the final sector.
Instinct, who of course is teamed up with Jack Handel in that. I think this is probably one of our favourite livery Stairs, the DuPont.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. The colours, that's the main thing that I like about it.
And just the letters for DuPont are nice and bold.
Yeah, the combination of the colours and the way in which they are on the car. Warming his brakes up, Instinct. Makes good sense to do that because it means that you'll have them when you need them.
It's a very good point.
That's right.
It's a very good point you raise.
Don't
I was
yawn.
speaking through a yawn. I do it, but no, it's not.
That's just rude.
It's not boredom. It's just I tend to yawn when I've been talking a long time, or if I'm looking at something. I often yawn in job interviews, which is a fantastic look, I can assure you.
And you have a job. Well, there you go. This isn't it.
I'm actually quite good at interviews, apart from yawning in the middle of them.
Well, let's see what Instinct can do.
I'm not going to be yawning during this lap, because I reckon he's going to put on an absolute belter Stairs as he comes down into Hell Corner. We've just ticked over to 42 minutes, and there was a yellow flag somewhere. What a wiggly exit.
I think that was just because Sean Allen is parked at the end of the pit lane waiting to start his out lap.
The lack of... we'll talk about it when we get there. Instinct comes over that little rise up Mountain Straight and into Griffin's Bend.
And for the briefest of moments, both of us shut up to listen to that car go through Griffin's Bend, and it did
That is called
good.
Griffin's, isn't it?
Jono Carswell says wildcard cars available in this event. If you weren't watching a moment ago, the answer to that is a very, very much a yes.
Yeah, hop on in, Jono.
If you do want to jump in tomorrow for a wildcard entry, we would absolutely love to have you.
Jono, do you like cars? Well, there are wild
Not going to
cards
join
available.
you now. Instinct's up by 0.4 of a second through the first sector.
Sliding through the grate. Sliding through McPhillamy Park.
He brushed the wall at the grate, and yes, he was sliding ever since. So Instinct, what can he do down through the S's? Looks good. I like what Instinct... Oh, he's brushed the wall again. He's nearly done a Mostert there. Very narrow entry into the Forest Elbow. The Forest Elbow. See whether that costs him any time. I think he's about the same. He's sort of... he's 3/10, 3 4/10. That's about what the gap was through the middle... the first sector. So he's just maintained that through the middle sector.
Kurt Stenberg just in the chat confirming, yes, wildcards available as Instinct comes through the chase. Heavy braking zone. You can see the car pitch forward as all of that center of gravity is shoved into the bonnet. Nice and out on the curb there, using all of the track as he comes down towards Murray's. Nice, tidy braking, by the looks of it. Misses the inside curb, which is what you want to do. That's quite a heavy one. And to the outside, goes 1.5 tenths faster. So that's actually, he lost a couple of tenths in that last sector, but it looked pretty clean to me.
Well, that's half the runners in this shootout done. Maddie, what's your analysis of this qualifying session at the halfway point?
It's a lot closer than I was expecting based on what we were seeing in qualifying and practice. And I guess that's what the top 10 shootout often brings out of the drivers, is it really encourages them to give it their all, put 100%, 110% down. I've actually got a camera set up at the finish line at the moment, recording the entire session. I'm going to try and splice them all together to have a nice package for you to look at tomorrow. Is a nice direct comparison as to what the margins look like between the drivers visualized as cars on track faded through each other, Trackmania style. Look forward to that.
Nice. I can't wait for that segment there. Matty, that's going to be an absolute cracker. Now, I'm kind of ruining the fact that Sean Allen's not starting this shootout, and as in the first car to do a lap, because I could have made some sort of reference to him being a canary in the coal mine.
Because bright yellow. I get it.
I like the change up in their livery though.
That was another. We're having a lot of messy exits from Hell Corner. Just a little bit of a wiggle out on the curb.
Hence the name Hell Corner, I suppose.
Indeed. As you're sort of descending into hell, except it's...
Ascending.
You're ascending out of hell.
Into 203 land. The promised 203 land.
The promised Valhalla of 203 land.
Only 2 men yet to... Oh, sorry, 3 yet to do it. Or 3 to do it in the qualifying session. Dane, Ethan and Thomas McMillan.
Mitch McGovern in the chat just saying solo drives. I believe they would be open to solo drives.
We had one last year.
RSM Latino managed it last year, so...
If you want to.
If you're up for a drive, then hop on in.
You'll be showered in praise from us. Because
absolutely.
We don't know how it's possible.
We were falling over ourselves with praise for RSM Latino.
And I'm falling over myself with praise for Sean Allen because he's up through the first sector by 2.5 tenths of a second.
What we would expect from Sean Allen, who is usually solid in qualifying, but as we always say, he's a bit of a race specialist where he just is very consistent, and himself and Brody Steen are usually there or thereabouts with the podium positions. So them combined in a car is always going to end up being with a very consistent run.
So 6 tenths of a second is the gap through the second sector split. This is going to be the first time that we see in the 205s if he continues on at this incredible rate of knots, Manbird.
Yeah, straight down underneath the Hino truck sign. Not quite as good as the Fuso sign.
Oh,
but, you know,
I missed that sign.
Times move on. Not so squeezy as he comes down into the chase. Jim Beam, that's always been there. But, you know, probably rather not. Very
wiggling on the exit. All over the curve. He had 2 wheels in the grass there, Madbird. Final corner.
He absolutely did. He might have gotten away with it because it's not really a traction zone. A little bit messy there as well.
Wow.
And he's still up by 8 tenths of a second, almost 9 tenths of a second as he comes across the line.
He found time.
He did
found
indeed.
A fair bit of time.
Even though, yeah, he was very out there. He was right out sideways for a few seconds and out on 2 wheels on the grass. And it looks as if our next runner are only just leaving their pit garage now, Stairs.
All right, that gives us time for the ad break that we weren't going to play. And we're still not going to play it. So we'll just talk a bit, you know.
Jono Carswell just committing now, saying, yeah, I've never played AMS, but I'm dangerously assuming it's not far off from RF2. Probably a safe assumption.
Yeah, pretty close, yeah.
If you've never played it before, then, you literally said I should be able to get it installed in time. Right, I thought you meant the skin pack, not the entire game. But, yeah, absolutely. If you're able to get it installed over the next... You got over 12 hours.
Yeah, race doesn't start until 11:30 our time. It's 12 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Jono and Star at SimSports are having an intense discussion about whether they're going to do this in the chat. So let's get some peer pressure going, folks. F's in the chat if you reckon that Jono Carswell should do it by himself if Starrett's not going to commit because he's a little bit scared of doing the Bathurst 1000 and also he's got to work tomorrow.
Brody's Racing lamenting the fact that I'm not cutting to an ad break because then I won't be saying it's time for the big guns. The big guns. There, I can say it. Cromley can't. After the break. Thanks, Loose89, for that one.
Caught that reference. And we also had someone asking, is that a Big Kev tribute about something?
I think Matt Dunlop was talking about the Big Kev tribute, weren't you, Matt?
I think he was.
That certainly was. He's referring to Sean Allen and Brody Steen's race on Oscar, and the answer is a resounding yes, it is.
I'm excited.
I am excited. Well, you know, I think that basically sums up all of our feelings about this entire event.
Well, I'm excited.
Yes.
And hopefully we don't have a heart attack.
100%.
And I seem to remember Stairs. Oh, it's the outlap. Okay.
Yeah, I remember he took a while.
He did. Do apologise. I got a little bit preemptively excited. So he's just scrubbed a little bit of wear off that one particular tyre. I remember Stairs a time during primary school.
Oh, where's this going?
Yourself and myself cleaning the library using a Big Kev industrial solvent of some description. And I think I lost some brain cells that day because of the amount of the amount of alcohol that was in that particular cleaning product.
And you never got them back.
Never got them back. No.
Yeah.
Never at all.
I don't think anybody could be as excited as Big Kev was without being under the influence of some sort of solvent.
Very much so.
Under the influence of solvent.
Now we weren't going
Holy
to
crap.
for goodness sake, we weren't going to an ad break, but we will just talk about these fantastic shirts that we got from the KART FX guys, KART FX Design, supporting us very much so, and they do a lot of wraps for go-karts. They do a lot of racing apparel, so definitely hit them up if you are thinking of anything like that. They gave us our stickers for this broadcast, Madbird.
Yeah, and the shirts are incredibly comfortable.
They most certainly are. I think we're going to get a bit of a shot of that in a moment,
Oh my
but
goodness.
we'll just wait for Zach Baker here just for a second.
Might wait. Let's wait on that until we're on someone's outlap, because at the moment Zach Baker is coming through the cutting on his lap in anger, and he is one of the runners that, well, he was on pole last time outstairs. Well, I say last time.
Provisional
last,
pole. They didn't win the shootout lap, but they did get the fastest lap to get into the shootout. But they're up here by 0.2 of a second.
And you never know what will happen. So the runners ahead very well might have some dramas on their outlaps. We've got Thomas McMillan just at the end of the pit lane on our other screen, so we'll keep a weather eye on him as Zach Baker twists and turns down through the S's and the dipper, and he's all over the place a little bit. It looks scruffy, but I've got a suspicion that it's actually going to be quite quick. He comes out of Forest Elbow and he's up by 0.3, almost 0.4 of a second, and you can see that car is squirming all over the place.
It most certainly is. So the lap time is looking like it's going to be a good one for Zach Baker as he's purple through both of the sectors. And Sean Allen, I think Sean Allen will probably be sitting there thinking that he's going to have to be battling ZB cars through this race tomorrow. Both he and his teammate Brody Steen were very happy with their Race on Oz Teams Championship, because ZB, the other team with two drivers, were their main competitor, but Zach Baker obliterates his time with a 2:05.1, flashes the lights in celebration, and that's a really good lap there for Zach Baker.
It is indeed. So Thomas McMillan will be starting his outlap in just a few moments.
That he's not on the
He's just sitting there.
lap. Yeah, he's just
waiting
sitting at the outlap.
very obediently.
So apparently he's just waiting to be told the word, I think.
And he's continuing to sit there. There's some fantastic... We've got something in the chat, just someone saying, I don't think... It is best not to drink it, presumably talking about the solvent. And then Mitch McGovern says, no. which is apt.
And there are the shirts, as you can see on the back. Automobilista Supercars Championship. That is the shirt of myself.
Yep.
That is the shirt of yourself.
This is the shirt of myself, is an odd sentence. As you can see, got all of our sponsors on the side there. And a lovely shot of what we look like while I'm crouched at this dining table. And the Apex Real.
All the live timing. Those are the stickers there that we'll be giving away tomorrow. Can't wait to show them off a little bit.
Absolutely.
And there is our friend Michael Zalavari in front of our fantastic Tech Talk television.
And there's a boom line. as we pan up and away swiftly, but not swiftly enough. Thomas McMillan is about halfway through his outlap. He's just coming through Skyline now. That gave me a burst of energy.
This is still the outlap, Madbird.
This is still the outlap, but I've got all this energy.
You do. Well, Minardi Fan 95 saying, what would be worse to drink, VB or Big Kev solvent?
Oh, that's a tight one.
That is a good question.
That is a very good one. Honestly, I reckon...
Big Kev solvent by a nose, I think.
I reckon that's a very close run race. And we need to be very careful about who we suggest that to. As we've got another... We're going to have a little bit more footage of our shirt.
Our camera takes a little bit of time to boot up. But here is our cameraman doing a bit of a selfie for himself here.
A bit of selfie for himself.
A selfie
for myself.
And just enjoying the view. That is James Donovan.
winking like he has some sort of.
We're gonna have to cut back. He's fallen on the ground.
Has now started his hot lap and comes through Hell Corner, accelerates up Mountain Straight and gets very leery out on the curbs, nearly loses control of the car. And Stairs, my goodness, that was a bit of a hairy first corner for us all, I think.
Sorry, I wasn't looking, I was distracted. But I'm glad you saw that, Mad Bird. I think Thomas McMillan is going to leave nothing on the table for this lap.
Lives by the sword, dies by the sword. As we always say about Thomas McMillan, he's a bloody aggressive driver, and often it pays off for him, but sometimes it doesn't. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Bathurst for some times to come into it, because there's a lot of more times than there are at other tracks.
Whoa, that's nice. I always love watching them go through that corner there. He's not up on Zach Baker. It's very, very tight. 14 thousandths of a second.
It was an incredibly messy hell exit corner, so I'm surprised he's not further down, to be 100% honest.
Absolutely. So Thomas McMillan over the rise, comes down the hill. They've modelled the lack of spectators here, just like the real ASC Bathurst 1000. Brushes the wall there. On his way down to the elbow, Thomas McMillan, what can he manage through this next sector split? Absolutely no millimetre given that 0.2 of a second. He's found some time through that middle sector, and that is no surprise looking at it.
No. He points that car like a knife as he goes through all of those twisting corners across the top of the mountain, but this is about as simple as you can get. Flat chat all the way through the chase until you put the anchors in and slam down through the gears. Gets well up on the curb there at the apex of the chase. Nice and tidy on the exit, doesn't get any tyres in the grass, and shoots down towards Murray's Bend. And through he goes. Looks pretty tidy, doesn't touch the inside curve, uses the outside curve real estate that he has, and he's up by 3.5 of a second on Zach Baker's time.
I think even then he was reeling himself in a little bit. That was a 2:04.7, so we are nowhere near that sort of fabled 2:03 land. But it still looked like a pretty raggedy lap, didn't it?
It did indeed. Kurt Stenberg, Automobilista Supercars Championship admin in the chat, just saying, I might need some Automobilista Supercars Championship merch. That's correct.
That is correct.
It would make sense.
That matter of opinion is correct.
That matter of opinion. Whenever someone S-spins through the race, you have to scream Espinala.
I don't know if that rolls off the tongue quite personally.
Spinella. It's not a reference I'm familiar with, if I'm 100% honest.
I like vanilla.
Who have we got left? We've got Ethan Warren.
And Dane Warren.
Only the Warrens remaining.
So expect some lap times to tumble.
Can Ethan pull it out? Pull his finger out in the shootout and put himself on pole position? We've seen him...
Blair will have to wave a 50 in his hand, in his face here.
He has taken pole position from Dane Warren a couple of times this season.
He is representing KART FX Design and Blackshaws with this car. Blackshaws being a sponsor for Colin Warwick and Steve Warwick, hence Blackshaws on that car as well.
Just while we're waiting for Ethan Warren to go around on his outlap, I'd like to remind the viewers of the pole position record so far for the ASC 2020 Supercars Championship. 4 different drivers have taken pole positions so far this season. From bottom to top, they are in 4th place, Kurt Stenberg with a sole pole position. In 3rd place, we have Sean Allen, who's already gone out on the track so far with 2 pole positions to his name. In 2nd place, runner-up in the pole position count so far is this man, Ethan Warren, who has scored 3, and our current leader is Dane Warren with 25.
20.
That's dominant.
Yeah, you know, the 1%ers really do take 90% of the spoils, don't they? It's unbelievable. Dane Warren, he takes some beating. That's why we always get out of our seats whenever someone does manage to beat him, Madbird.
We do. Yeah, that's incredible. He could lose half of those pole positions and still be more than the rest of them combined.
And while not focusing on these series, he's got other stuff on his plate. He's been doing the E series during the week. I saw him racing around Bella Isle.
He's just one of those people. It's like I reckon Xeris would be like that if he, raced in like a more competitive series. He'd be the sort of person who, if he put some practice in, because anyone who watches our Apex Rear Wing broadcasts, Xeris doesn't practice before the night. That's sort of how he handicaps himself. So if he practiced, I reckon he'd be up there with the Warrens and such of this world. So
Unbelievable.
unbelievable bubble on the trampoline. As I would love to get Xeris into this series and see how he does.
So Ethan Warren. It's probably the first. He's right up over the curb there. And I would expect nothing less. He knows exactly where the end of his car is, or the side of his car. Love that camera angle.
Dimensions of his car.
The dimensions of his car and the dimensions of the racetrack. You ever heard that story about Ayrton Senna saying that the barrier moved as an excuse to why he crashed? And it turns out after they measured it that someone had crashed the other end of the barrier and it pivoted about 1 millimeter.
And that's the sort of tolerances that he was working with.
Well,
0.2 of a second up.
Look how close Ethan Warren it was to the edge of the wall there, coming through the grate. He is 0.2 of a second. That's where these little marginal gains come from.
Yeah, Michael Zalavari talked about it before the shootout, how close it was between Ethan Warren and second place man Thomas Millen. It was under 0.1 of a second, or under 1%. Of time difference between the two of them over the course of a lap, so that shows just how tight it can be. Ethan Warren currently up by 0.3 of a second on Thomas McMillan's time, which won't put him in 203 land, but it'll put him in the low 204s.
So the chase for Ethan Warren, a little bit of that curb on the inside. You see a lot of them wiggling under brakes here, but straight as an arrow, Ethan Warren there under brakes. A little bit wiggly on exit. And then one more corner now for Ethan Warren to negotiate. This is going to be an absolutely cracking lap time. But can we crack the 203s in the shootout? Not quite. 204.2. It's quite a long way off, actually.
204.4 even.
2.4. Don't know what I'm reading.
So mighty close, but just not close enough to 203 land. Just had, speaking of, in the chat, Master Gamer 22344 saying, "Have you ever seen a 3 or a 2 at this track during qualifying?" If we're talking about in sim racing, during our qualifying session, we saw Dane Warren set a 203.389 and Ethan Warren set a 203.867. So
203.3.
Yeah,
that was the time we saw.
Dangerously close to a 202. Has there ever been a 202 during a real Bathurst 1000?
Don't believe so.
That seems
no.
Incredible. James shrugging.
We were very surprised to see Scotty McLaughlin get into the threes.
There was a 201 at the 12 hour.
Those cars have a lot more downforce.
Very different cars, yeah.
Don't have the top speed as a V8 supercar, but
a lot more downforce.
Yeah.
Across the top of the mountain.
They stick like shit to a blanket at the top of the mountain.
Stick like what, sorry?
Like excrement to a warm thing.
Ah, yes. Very good. It's alright, at least you didn't say cut. Anyway, Dave Warren just going through the cutting on his outlap.
Tell you what, they didn't stick like the aforementioned proverbial to a blanket this year when the temperatures were up so high.
No.
They were slipping off like Teflon.
Yep, and my goodness, getting sandblasted for free across the top of the mountain.
That was pretty cool.
We luckily avoided it, but Kurt Stenberg got sandblasted to hell and back.
Yeah, but for free.
Matt Cecil just saying a 3.5 is the fastest in real life in a supercar, he believes. And we've got Hans B hopping in the chat.
Rhodium.
Hashtag Rhodium.
Rhodium.
I reckon Benjamin Rhodes, you've got to get in one of these wild cards, mate. And we've got to see if we can make it happen. Get the hashtag Rhodium roll happening. A 3.4 unofficially, says Josh Anderson. Good to see you, Josh. Would be good to see you out there on the track tomorrow.
He was teamed up. He was teamed up with Thomas McMillan last year, and unfortunately, their race came to a premature end due to technical problems.
Issues. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, guys, the info I've got in front of me, the best ever supercars lap around Mount Panorama was a 203.5592, which is what Cam Waters managed in his shootout lap this year. Do we reckon Dane Warren can get pretty close to that one? Well, he did beat it in practice, didn't he?
I reckon he can one-up that. I reckon he can easily beat that if he can string his lap together, but it is a lot more pressure. He does have a cool head on those shoulders, though.
I reckon he's going to send it, Madbird. I think he's just going to lick the stamp and send it on this lap, because imagine that. That really sends a statement to the rest of the field if he can get a 2:03 in the shootout.
It does. It really does. It's one thing in practice when you've got an hour to fine tune your lap, but trying to nail it in one go is a very, very different proposition. Just got a bit more support for #Rhodium in the chat. Hans B saying if Rhodey does the race tomorrow, I'll let him pass for sure.
Should we explain what rhodium is?
Rhodium originated because Benjamin Rhodes in the Apex Rear Wing on race on Wednesday, as Dane Warren gets right out to the side and he's up by 0.2 of a second, so
he's on target.
He's on target. If he can continue to make those sort of gains over the rest of the lap, then he will be definitely in 203 land. Rhodey was very close to a podium on Wednesday, so #Rhodium. I'd be saying everyone needs an extra dose of #Rhodium.
Not wrong. So Dane Warren, we saw him brush the wall once or twice. He was almost millimetre perfect before that. But it has been a very fast lap, and this will give us a bit more of an indicator. Oh my goodness! 0.7 of a second! This is well into the threes, Madbird.
He could very easily, if he continues this sort of pace, he could match the time he set in qualifying, which was a 3:3.
I shot my wad on, look at the split, it's awesome, a little bit early in this session, Madbird.
You very easily could have shot your wad a little bit early. He's broke perfectly down into the chase. And fantastic run out of the chase as we accidentally cut away, but we're back. Our eyes are glued to him as he comes through Murray's Bend. Nice and careful through there, up on the curb. And we are in 203 land stairs. We are a 203.599 for Dane Warren.
Oh, that is special.
Look at the split. It's awesome. Look at the split. And then, Jesus, that split from Rhodey's Racing. So, everybody... And Mitchell McGovern just saying, well...
Yeah, so that is a statement. That
Dominance.
is an absolute statement from Dane Warren.
You know who's going to start behind Dane Warren stairs?
Who's that?
A man who has had a bit of... He's familiar with the rear wing of Dane Warren. Thomas McMillan is going to start right behind Dane Warren for the second race in a row.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, the last time Thomas McMillan started off directly behind Dane Warren, we had a very exciting race on our hands.
Exactly. Yes. You were prophetic in that particular race.
Prophetic and pathetic, I believe, was what I said. So, we have got Michael Zalavari in the KART FX Tech Talk bunker. And we're going to hop over and get a little bit of shootout analysis from Michael.
Stairs, hopefully you've got me right this time around, because I've had a look.
Do we have that first frame?
Yes, that's our good friend, Chaz Mostert. We love it. We love it. We love to see it. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a look at the ideal lap for both qualifying and the race. So for qualifying, the ideal lap, the first two sectors were set by our man Dane Warren. And then the last sector was Thomas McMillan, actually. 39.5 had the fastest sector. So an ideal lap in qualifying of a 203.286 with Dane setting a 203.89 as his best lap. Now, if we look to the shootout, remember, the shootout is a single lap of pressure. You've got the entire stream and all the audience looking at you for that one lap. Dane Warren almost emulates that first split. It's just outside by a 10th, just outside over the top, and he actually bettered his split for Sector 3 and set the best Sector 3 time as well. So Dane Warren setting a 203.599 to be only 2/10 away from his qualifying time. That is a stellar lap from Dane Warren there to do in the pressure of the shootout, to put in a 203, which was what, 0.8 of a second faster than everyone else at the end of the session. That's absolutely unbelievable, and that really shows why he's been the qualifying king in ASC this season. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael Zalavari, and thank you very much also to Chaz Mostert's shit-eating grin.
We went there.
We went there, absolutely. What a qualifying that was, Stairs. That was, and just what a statement from Dane Warren right at the very end.
It was a statement. We were talking about that, would he throw the lap away, or would he just go for the safe lap. And I think really it was pretty obvious from the off that he was going to go for a 3 because he could win this race.
I can never imagine Dane Warren going for a safe lap. I don't know if Dane Warren is aware of the concept of a safe lap. I think he's just that quick and that consistent that every lap is generally safe. I reckon I can count on one hand the amount of mistakes I've seen him make this season. So it's going to be very exciting seeing him starting out from pole position with a good friend of his right up his rear. Not saying anything, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, of course, Madbird, you're referring to what we talked about at the Bend. That's definitely a race to go back and watch because it was quite interesting. It was a racetrack that we weren't expecting that great racing at, and it turned out to deliver really in spades. So
I feel like we were a little bit unfair to the Bend in the end.
Maybe we were, but I think it bodes well for the racing at Bathurst because we know that racing at Bathurst is always good.
Absolutely, I am hype.
I'm hyped too.
Hype!
We're hype about these stickers, which we'll be giving away tomorrow, of course. And another thing I'm hyped for is a little bit of a segment that Matt Dunlop put together for us, Madbird.
Yeah, he's an absolutely fantastic content producer. It's not quite a Tim Tam Slam, as you might have seen over on the Apex Rear Wing channel, but it's definitely going to be something interesting.
When you've got drivers who are pretty evenly matched racing around a tricky, narrow circuit like Bathurst with pretty limited overtaking opportunities, pit strategy becomes a super important part of the race, especially when it's lasting over 1,000 kilometres. Now, the problem with that is when you've got two cars who are battling for position and then one of them takes a pit stop and fills up for fuel, they're still where they relatively are because one of them's dropped down the order, of course. So we have to figure out exactly how much time it takes or how much time you lose when you make a pit stop. That's what we call the pit delta time. It sounds like a pretty simple concept, but that varies from category to category and from track to track. So we're going to try and figure out what the pit delta time is for a supercar racing around Bathurst. I've got my lovely assistant Jake here who's going to come into the shop now. He's going to show you a little map that I've drawn of the bottom half of the Mount Panorama circuit. Starting from the exit of the chase somewhere around here, going down under the footbridge, through Murray's Corner along the pitch straight, Hell Corner, and then up towards Griffin's Bend at the end of Mountain Straight. So, if you're not taking a pit stop, the time it takes from you to get from the footbridge here, down the track, through Murray's Corner, across the start-finish line, all the way down the pitch straight, through Murray's Corner, and up here to the pit lane blend line is 20 seconds. That's roughly 20 seconds. That's going to vary a little bit depending on the state of your car, the driver skill, your setup, yada yada, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Roughly 20 seconds. Now, if you're pitting, it's a two-part equation. The first part of the equation is the stop time, how long it's going to take you to actually stop and make the pit stop, right? So that's the time that you're stationary in the box. Now, the fuel rate of these cars is 3.75 litres per second, or a gallon per second in the old money, if you're my dad. Now, that if you're going to have a 112 litre fuel tank that's empty or near enough to empty, it's going to take you 112 divided by 3.75 to fill that up is going to take around about 30 seconds. So that's 30 seconds you stopped in the box. While your fuel's happening, you're also going to be changing your tyres, driver maybe, and maybe doing some repairs at the same time. So it's basically hinges on the fuel. The other half of the equation is transit time. So if you're coming in for a pit stop, the time it takes for you to get to here, slow down through here, weave through this weird little chicane, get right down to 40 kilometers an hour, that's the pit lane speed limit, crawl through the pit lane, pull into your box, stop, that's your 30 seconds, pull back out into the lane, crawl back along the lane until you get to here, turn the limiter off, gas it up and get to here. By the time you get to that point, that is going to take you 90 seconds. So get rid of that. 90 seconds. That's a minute 30. That's a lot of time. Now, to figure out the delta time, we take that, we subtract what it takes if you're racing around the outside, and that gives us 70 seconds. 1 minute 10. That is the pit delta. But that's not the whole story, because car 1 and car 2 are in very different circumstances. When car 1 here gets to the end of the pit lane, car 1 number here gets to the end of the pit lane,
it's only going to be doing around 100, 110 kilometers an hour. But car number 2, by the time it gets to here on the racetrack, it's going to be doing 120, 130. That's a big speed differential. And that means by the time both of these guys get up here, up Mountain Straight to the end of Griffin's Bend, there's going to be a second between them already. That's a big difference. And you also have to keep in mind that car 1 has got a fresh tank of fuel, nice and big and heavy, full of fuel, plus fresh, cold tyres. So it's going to be limited in its cornering group. Thank you very much, Jake. You've been excellent.
No worries, man.
Appreciate your time. So 70 seconds, because of all the variables, like, car 2's tyres, car 2's fuel, the driver skill, setup, traffic, etc., etc., that's going to make it pretty variable. So it's not going to be exactly 70. It's going to be 70 seconds plus having a little bit of a buffer so you can account for your new fuel and your new tyres. It's going to be around 70 plus a little bit more. So the problem becomes, what happens if you're 65 seconds ahead of somebody that you're racing and you want to take a pit stop for fuel, but you don't want to lose track position? Well, you've got 2 strategies. First, you can underfuel. That's where you come in, don't fill the tank all the way up, leave a little bit of room in there, pull back out, so you shave a few seconds off your pit stop time, rejoin in front of that guy, and then hold that position, defend for your life, while you stretch out that stint as long as you possibly can and make a fuel saving run. Otherwise, you can fill the fuel tank all the way up, sacrifice that position in exchange for having the flexibility of the extra fuel. And then you can kind of just hope that the guy in front of you has an issue of his own. Think back to Chaz Mostert, Jamie Whincup, Bathurst 2014. Strategy is absolutely huge, especially around that critical lap towards the end of the race, and absolutely when safety cars are involved.
Absolutely, Matty. What a fantastic segment. We're going to have to replay that one because I missed half of it due
It's
to...
the first time I've seen that.
That was I don't know where you got such a sturdy whiteboard stand, because as Michael Zalavari
I was going to say
said in the chat,
there's six of us and not a single one of us has a whiteboard stand.
ours is held up by 3M tape.
Yeah, it was held up by a snowboard before that, so that was a bit of an upgrade.
It's a step up.
Matty, absolutely top job. Top job on that segment. Matty, anything to add to what we've just heard you say?
I just want to give a big shout out to Jake Kershaw, my housemate, who participated and was more than willing to be my whiteboard stand, because the music stand I borrowed from my other housemate was a sack of shit and just didn't hold together very well. And Blue Tack wasn't holding the whiteboard to the wall very good either. So Jake was phenomenal.
He stepped in and he learned something by the looks of it.
He certainly did, and
I
he
can
looked
tell
pretty
from
happy.
his eyes.
Yeah, he was. He told me that I did a pretty good job of it as well. So I think for someone like him who's only got a very basic introduction to motorsport from sitting on the couch while I'm watching Formula One, I think that's a pretty big tick of approval.
Absolutely, and a little bit harder to knock over a housemate than a whiteboard that's propped up on a ladder like we had last year.
Yeah, a ladder with well, it was on a plank of wood that was balanced across a ladder with something counterweighted on the other side. So very professional setup we've got here.
Right,
Yeah, I think the times that I had there were based on what I saw in the practice session. I think what we saw in qualifying was a lot quicker. So take what I said with a pinch of salt, but if I'm on the money, then you're welcome, I guess.
Well, you've covered all bases there, I guess. So either way, we're going to be singing you praises.
Excellent. I do what I can.
Absolutely right. Well, we are going to take a short break, and afterwards we'll do all the wrap-up here at Bathurst.
All the information you want about the Automobilista Supercars Championship is now all in one place. Visit asc.rocksolidmates.com for all the official ASC content, including season calendars, results and championship points, broadcast information, rules and regulations, lap records, and more. You can also get updates on our official ASC Facebook page. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell notification icon to get notified whenever we go live for all championship races.
The Automobilista Supercars Championship is proudly brought to you by RSM, Rock Solid Mates, ARW, Apex Rear Wing, CW, Colin Warwick Designs, and Jinx Shifters.
And of course, the other sponsor is KART FX, who's sponsoring the broadcast. Oh, I've done it again.
That's all right. We're back, and of course, we we did. Bear with us, viewers. We're back.
Little teething issues here with
You see,
this broadcast.
we pulled out all the stops, but some of them got lodged a little bit in like the exit, and so we've every now and then it sort of catches when we're pulling it out, and there's a little bit of jank.
They have no idea what you're talking about, Matt.
No.
But the other
I don't know
sponsor,
what I have
in
to
addition
talk
to the
about.
brakes, of course, being KART FX, who gave us these stickers. Of course, you can see them on the front here, actually. KART FX, who have been very gracious in providing us with all of these stickers to give away. So tune in for that tomorrow. Well, qualifying, it's been an interesting one, hasn't it?
It has. Dane Warren doing what we expected him to do and absolutely obliterating the field. Ended up being 8/10 ahead of his brother Ethan Warren. And we saw with Michael Zalavari in the KART FX bunker just how dominant that lap was. So incredibly quick from Dane Warren, but there's 161 laps to come tomorrow, Stairs.
Yeah, the race isn't won on the first lap, and it's certainly not won in the shootout. But you can definitely send a message to your rivals. We certainly know that Dane Warren did that today.
Very much so.
Someone who didn't take part, it has to be said, in last year's Bathurst 1000. Brother Ethan did, and they were surprisingly not quite there last year. It was a very interestingly fought affair. 7 pit stops mandated in tomorrow's race. That will certainly have an impact. Last year's race-winning strategy was a 6 pit stop strategy, so there will be a half stint in there at some stage.
Will be, and we'll have to figure out what the critical lap is in order so that we can get properly hyped for it tomorrow.
It might vary. So tomorrow, Madbird, all the action gets underway at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Yep.
In preparation for a race start at 12 o'clock.
Yep, that is 10:30 Central. That would be 10 o'clock Queensland time. And that would be...
Goodness knows what in Perth.
Oh, yeah, no, Kurt Stenberg would know.
in the chat will be watching. You can put what the time is in Perth time for those of our friendly viewers who are watching from the great state of Western Australia.
And hopefully Josh Bagsy will also know and will be in evidence tomorrow after sorting out some technical issues that he's had tonight. Wasn't able to join us, but we were, of course, joined by Matty Dunlop over in Melbourne, and we had Michael Zalavari and James Donovan here in the studio with us tonight.
Great thanks to them.
Absolutely.
All right, we might as well wrap it up there, Madbird.
I reckon.
We will see you tomorrow.
Can't wait to see you.
Bye for now.